All right, we're off here on any given Thursday, live on Chat Sports. We go live every Thursday, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. I am Harrison Graham. That is my man, Chase Sr. Episode, 8 now? They keep letting us come back, so I guess we're doing something right, Chase. And we got a jam-packed show with the NBA finally back.
Man, the NBA is back, and it kind of snuck up on us a little bit because we're just so deep into the NFL season, but hoops is back. I've been watching all week, and we got a lot of NBA news and rumors coming your way. And this Ben Simmons drama, Harrison,
it's not going
crazy,
away.
And it's not going away.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. I'm basically just going to be like, all right, welcome into the show, Chase. You go talk for 10 minutes.
And I can easily do that. That's fine. Easy money.
That's going to be a lot of fun. We'll dissect the latest surrounding Ben Simmons and the Sixers. We'll take a look at some other teams and games that have gone on in the NBA. And, of course, some NFL and college football discussion as well. Ed Orgeron officially out after this season at LSU. We'll take a look at some candidates for that university. Okay, let's get the live chat bumping, though. Get active in the comments, and let's get this party started. Shout out your city. Let us know where you're watching from. We, of course, are in the great city of Dallas, Texas, but we want to know where you guys are. Gamer Dude is back. Get the chat going, Gamer Dude. He says he's in New York. Gamer Dude's one of your biggest fans, Chase.
Gamer Dude, he's already on the Chat Sports Wall of Fame for our diehard fans. Gamer Dude, continue to get that chat flowing all throughout the day. Also, a big development here, have a burner account, Harrison. So
you've joined
Tom Downey got his burner account. You got yours a couple weeks
now,
ago. And now this week, I have my own. So that only means that we made it and people are enjoying the show, I guess.
I mean, people are talking. That's for sure. Oh, your burner account's in the chat right now.
Exactly. That's why
I wonder if that's Gamer Dude's second account. Who knows?
Could be.
Tom Downey's burner account is in the chat. Baltimore, go Orioles. Yeah, it's a tough go right now. Renton from Sam Z. Chris Vegas is in Nebraska. Corey is in Alabama. Rashard Lee is here in Dallas. I'm surprised we've never met up with Rashard Lee. He's been around for quite a while. Iowa is where Evan's watching. Jackson, Mississippi is where Clayton is. Dalton Kelly's out in Cali. My burner account is back as well. He's in Dallas. That's a little creepy. My burner account lives here as well, Chase. So,
same with mine.
Oh, that's
maybe they're hanging out together, just like we're hanging out on the show.
Same person.
Yeah.
People are talking. Forever 100K says Charlotte. Let's see. SM and SoCal. Sam, our producer Sam's back with us this week. Is there a producer Sam burner account? There definitely should be if there isn't yet.
Not yet. I don't know whether to be disappointed or flattered. Or
You're probably not missing out on much. So
no, probably not.
Don't
feel. Hey, maybe one day it'll pop up. We'll see.
If you go on a hot streak gambling, which we'll get our NFL picks at the end of the show. Stay tuned for that. That's where Sam's expertise lies.
Locks only this week.
Exactly. Bounce back week.
Tom Downey's burner account saying, I'd love to live in Dallas.
Hey.
We'd love to have you. It's a great city. Great weather. It's affordable, and you get to hang out with us.
Come on down. All right, let's keep it going here. Are you a real one? If not, just don't type anything. But if you are, type me. If you're not typing me, then I guess you're a fraud like Ben Simmons.
Those who tune in to anything that Chat Sports produces, you are a real one. And there are real ones, like the ones who are diehard viewers and listeners. So we know that there are a bunch of real ones out there. Just type me. I'm seeing Corey Naylor, Dalton Kelly, Clayton Lockhart, Gamer Dude, Rashard Lee, Corey, Forever 100K. We got a lot of people who are real ones in the chat. And those who are the real ones, you'll continue to keep it locked with us throughout today's jam-packed show.
By the way, Evan Henders, shout out to you for using hashtag NBA. We'll try and incorporate some of your questions throughout the show. He says Chicago will surprise some people. I think 49-33. Bulls look good in the opener and
against the Pistons, but without Cade Cunningham.
How about the defense, though? 88 points.
Under 90 points.
You're holding any NBA team to under 90 these days.
That's impressive,
That's
honestly.
good stuff. And that was the question coming in for the Bulls is could the defense ball out? And so far, so good. Obviously, we're just one game in. Corey's a real one. Rashard's a real one. Tom Downey's burner says nothing but real. L2 says me, Gamer Dude as well. Dalton Kelly getting his question in. We'll try to answer those throughout the show, so stay tuned for that and use hashtag NBA if you want to get your questions across. Also, if you super chat, that's a guarantee to get on the show. Have you been watching the NBA? So we've got 2 nights in the books, Chase, and how about that Celtics-Knicks game last night? We'll talk about the Knicks here in a little bit as well, but I tuned in for the finale of that, watched both overtimes. That was competitive stuff. It's early on, so I'm not going to sit here and say I've watched every game, but I know you've been dialed in.
Hey, I've watched a lot of basketball. I've been in the notepad on my phone just jotting down starting lineups as well as closing lineups. That game last night between the Knicks and the Celtics was really entertaining. It went 2 overtimes, as you mentioned, and the Knicks kind of gave it away in classic New York Knicks fashion at the end of regulation when they left Marcus Smart wide open. But for them to be able to rebound, led by Evan Fournier, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, I thought that showed some resiliency and mental resolve. I was impressed by New York last night. We'll talk about them here in a few minutes.
Yeah, and I think that's where a veteran coach like Tibbs can just help you hit the reset button.
No doubt about it.
Once overtime starts. We did get a super chat from Tom's burner account. Appreciate that. We'll get to that momentarily. Evan Henders says yes. Everyone in the chat's been watching. Why wouldn't you? Clayton, Richard, Gamer Dude, 30 Rock, Corey, Evan. We got L2 as well. Hoops is back, baby. This is the best time of year because all 4 major sports and college football are going on at once.
You said that the other day, and I'm like, it is a really good time of year.
Man.
First of all, it's fall, and you got to love fall everywhere.
Weather.
Secondly, though, I found myself with like 3-4 screens up per night watching all of these different games. NFL, college football, NBA, now Major League Baseball playoffs to me have been captivating because baseball was my first love. It's an awesome time of year.
No doubt. Tom Downey's burner account is dope as well because he sent in a super chat. Love seeing Iowa bite the pillow to Purdue. We are. Hey, man, that was a rough showing for the Hawkeyes. There's no doubt. For you college football fans, we'll take a look at LSU and Washington State later as both of those programs are looking for new head coaches. All right, this is a good one that Chase cooked up here. Describe Ben Simmons. If he's a baby, type B. If he's a fraud, type F. If he's a great player, type G. If he's stubborn, type S. I think they're all true.
Yes, to a certain degree. Is he great yet?
But which one
has he been great at times? Yes.
But which one is the most true?
I think he's a baby. I think he's stubborn. And I think he's a fraud. I think all of those three more true than great player right now.
Oh, right
he's
now.
He's costing himself because I think his value has diminished. Daryl Morey just on Philadelphia radio saying this could last over the next 4 years because that's how long Ben Simmons' contract is. He's not doing himself any favors. I know that for sure.
I would love it if the Sixers were like, you know what, we're not going to trade you. You're just going to have to not play basketball for 4 years.
And you know what? Something tells me he might be okay with that because I don't get the sense that Ben Simmons loves playing basketball. I think he loves the celebrity nature that comes with being a basketball player. I don't know if he loves the grind and the pressure that comes with playing basketball and then also playing in the pressure cooker city of Philadelphia. Some guys are built for it, like Jason Kelsey, who talked today about Ben Simmons and basically ripped him. Other guys aren't, like Simmons.
Let's see. Corey says he's a fraud. So does Gamer Dude. David says he's stubborn.
SM, Ben is far from a G. He ain't a G.
No.
If he was a gangster, if he was an OG, we'd be giving him some props, but we're ripping the cat. Yeah. Deservedly so.
Yeah, he's a fraud. David says he's stubborn. My burner account says he's a baby. Forever, yeah, he says G. He ain't no G. Beefy S from Tom's burner account. 30 Rock says big fraud on that one. Yeah, it's not going well for Ben Simmons, and we will dissect the latest around him and the 76ers momentarily, but we're going to get into our live show very soon, so stick with us. If you're ready to get into the bulk of our show, well, hit that thumbs up icon because we have a lot to get into. We only have 18 likes right now. Come on, let's get those numbers up. Like the video, and let's get into it. Sorry, I'm trying to read this Bears injury report. Nothing notable. All right, we're good there. Hit that thumbs up icon if you're ready for the live show to start. A lot of NBA stuff today, but of course, we will have more NFL and college football stuff to get into as well. How about this, Chase? This is what our lineup looks like. And by the way, for those of you watching, we will have a brand new ticker at the bottom of your screen of what's coming up next. So if you're like, man, I don't really like this topic right now, stay tuned because we cover a lot of topics here on any given Thursday. Of course, the latest NBA rumors around Ben Simmons, season openers for several teams as well. We will take a look at the early storylines across the NBA. Tua Tagovailoa Tagovailoa trade destinations. Will the Dolphins trade their young quarterback if they go out and get Deshaun Watson via trade? Stay tuned for that. LSU, Washington State, pair of programs who will need new head coaches after this season. So we will take a look at some candidates for both of those programs. And then, of course, Chat Sports Office makes their picks against the spread every single week, and this week is no different. We're going to move it around into the show. We'll give you our Week 7 picks against the spread, so stay tuned for that as well. A lot of stuff to get into. He's Chase. I'm Harrison. We're going to start with the New York Knicks picking up a big win on opening night last night, so stay tuned for that and a whole lot more. He's Chase Sr. I'm Harrison Graham. It is Any Given Thursday here by Chat Sports. And let's get into the latest around the New York Knicks, mostly around Chase. A awesome season opening game, a double overtime win at Madison Square Garden, 138-134. Randall was tremendous. Fournier was awesome. This was a hell of a way to start the Knicks season.
A hell of a way to start the season for New York, and they look like a legitimate team against a Boston Celtics team that I think is going to be pretty good. Now, so often early on in the NBA season, you see some sloppy games where there are a lot of turnovers. I thought this game was very well played on both sides. Jaylen Brown was going off. Yeah, Jason Tatum was ice cold, but how about RJ Barrett coming through in the guts of the game? Obi Toppin really flashed for me. Evan Fournier hit a bunch of clutch shots. I don't know if the Knicks are going to be a great team. I do think they're going to be a fun team, and I think this is an organization and a team that can win around 50 games this upcoming year because while they don't have the star player, they're very deep.
You can already tell the offense so much better.
So much
better.
better.
That's why you
and
go
more
out,
explosive with more options.
That's why you go get a Fournier.
Yep.
That's why you go sign a Kemba Walker. I think this offense and this team overall is more well-rounded. I think the defense might slip a bit this year, but in today's NBA, you got to be able to score points, and I think the defense will be good enough. So I can't wait to see how this team
they're going to play defense under Thibodeau.
Exactly.
You just know it.
Exactly. So we'll have a lot of dissect from this game and kind of look forward as the Knicks progress into their season. What is your one-word reaction to the Knicks' first win of the season? Exciting, exhilarating, pumped up. I know that's 2 words, but you can cheat if you want. Let us know down in the comments your reaction to the Knicks opening night win. All right, Chase, what was your kind of biggest takeaway and reaction to the Knicks double overtime win? I think mine was resiliency. I think a Knicks team of old would have folded after that defensive breakdown at the end of regulation that allowed Marcus Smart to tie the game when in most situations you would want to foul there, up 3 points. So to bounce back, I thought that was very impressive.
And I'm with you on that because the resiliency is very important for this organization that just hasn't had a lot of postseason success, and they have slipped away in some of these big games. Look, in the 70s, when they made it to the NBA Finals in 72-73, that was great. But since then, they've made it to a combined 2 conference championship games and 2 conference championship finals. So without that, they really haven't had a lot of success. And at the end of regulation, I'm like, oh, this is a classic Knicks moment. But for them to rebound from that, that was really impressive. But to encapsulate how I feel about the New York Knicks, they have depth. Their offense is much better. You know that they're going to play defense, as I mentioned, under Tom Thibodeau. And I think because of the depth, because of the offensive options, this is going to be a team that's going to be in play in the East. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I like taking the over for wins. I think they can win around 50 games, especially if these players continue to evolve and grow and get better like Julius Randle.
Yeah, and look, if anyone thought there was going to be a continued hangover from Randle's brutal playoff showing against the Atlanta Hawks, that was not the case. Now, he went a little bit cold late in this game, but still 35 points, almost 50% from the field, almost a triple-double as well. That's something he's really worked on in his game, not just his overall scoring, where he can score at all 3 levels now, Chase, but the ability to go dish out 9 assists in a game like this, grab 8 rebounds, play some defense. He plays 46 minutes in the opening night win. You don't think Game 1 matters, baby? He's out there for 46 of the 58 minutes, and he was absolutely fantastic for New York. And, hey, he's the heart and soul of this team right now.
He really is, and I like how he's taken ownership of that, to be the go-to guy, to be the leader, to be the face of the franchise. Now, the shot selection late in the game from Julius Randle last night wasn't all that great, but he's fun, and this Knicks team is fun. Madison Square Garden last night was litty, and let's be real, when the Knicks are good, when they're competing, the NBA product as a whole is much better. So Julius Randle's doing his thing, and Evan Fournier in his debut as a Knick able to go off, and you could just tell there was so much excitement
you could see it in that
inside the
photo.
Garden. People are already buying in one game into the year, and I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment, but I'm just seeing a different Knicks team that's more explosive on the offensive end than they were last year because of some of the additions that they made, including Evan Fournier, who 13 of 25 in his Knicks debut, not scared of the moment at all, rising up to pull the trigger on some big shots against a Celtics team that can kind of haunt you a little bit when you look at all of the big games that these two teams have played in over the years. Love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Evan Fournier is the X factor. This is why you go pay him $72 million. We saw what he did for France in the Olympics. He was a big shot maker in this summer as well.
Frenchman.
He opens up the offense. I mean, last year, you didn't really have a guy like this that can score off the catch and also off the dribble.
Exactly
and
right.
that is something that Fournier can do. You add Kemba Walker to that as well, which he didn't do much in the opener, but I think just having a real point guard makes a difference, and that is something that Kemba Walker obviously brings to the table. But Fournier's shooting ability, I mean, 13 of 25, 6 of 13 from deep. He also played 40-plus minutes. I thought he was tremendous. For him and Julius Randle to combine for what, 69 points, 67 points, whatever it was. I mean, how many times did two players for the Knicks last year combine for almost 70? That did not happen very often. And for that to happen in Game 1, that just shows how explosive this offense can be. And you take it a step further, the depth I think this team now has, Chase. Obi Toppin, who looked like a rookie last year. Let's just call it what it was. He did not look that great, but he looked good in the summer league. We saw him in camp and in the preseason. That has translated through one game. In 28 minutes, he gives you 6 of 9 off the bench and 14 points.
Look, as a guy who grew up in New York, goes to Dayton, he's under-recruited, ends up having a marvelous career at Dayton. He gets drafted in the top 10 by New York last year, and it looked as though he was going to be a bust. But what I like about Obi Toppin, he's worked on his craft. He's worked on his game. He went out to Las Vegas for the Summer League. He played pretty well. And last night, I thought he really flashed for me in transition as just an athletic force who defensively can then make plays to get the Knicks out in transition where he can leak out. He can follow you on the fast break, throw down some dunks to get the crowd going. Those are momentum-changing plays. Obi Toppin popped for me. I thought Mitchell Robinson was really good, too, on both ends of the floor.
He was tremendous.
You've got athleticism, you've got depth, you've got defense. Now, Tom Thibodeau, in addition to having his teams play D, they're always going to have their starters play a lot of minutes, so that's a little bit of a concern, but you have to like what you saw in that opening game against a quality team.
Yeah, Mitchell Robinson playing on both ends. I think we didn't talk about enough last year. They really missed him in that playoff series.
Yes.
He makes a big difference.
Could have guarded Capella.
Especially with a guy like Nerlens Noel who is injured right now. We'll talk about him here in just a sec. Guys, sub for Knicks Dubs. If you're a Knicks fan, go subscribe to our Knicks channel, youtube.com/KnicksTV. If you're watching on our Knicks channel, then just hit that big red button. We're cranking up our NBA coverage with the NBA season back and underway. We'll have the latest news, rumors, trade rumors all season long for the New York Knicks, so keep up to tabs at youtube.com/KnicksTV. Let's talk about Noel. So he didn't play in the opener, Chase. Knee soreness. Doesn't sound like it's super serious. Day to day, Robinson playing good defense helps. The good thing is this team has a lot of depth, so they can take their time with this.
I think the key word for today's show is depth. And they play without Nerlens Noel last night, who really reclaimed his career last year with the New York Knicks after turning down that big deal from the Dallas Mavericks. I don't think this is going to be anything long term, but once he comes back into the fold, that adds defensive presence and another guy who can kind of play around the rim and throw down some dunks on the two-man game.
Yeah, Taj Gibson missed the opener as well. His wife was giving birth, so that is certainly understandable. We'll see when he gets back into the fold. Maybe he misses another game, but he's obviously one of those veteran presences on this basketball team. So otherwise, no injuries to report from the Knicks, and all was well throughout the first game of the season, and a 138-134 win over the Boston Celtics. So now you get Game 1 under your belt. Marshall Green here at the office, big Knicks fan. He was like, "I can't do this for 82 games. I don't think every game's going to be like this, but you know what? It's an exciting way to start things off." And now you look at the upcoming schedule here, Chase. A couple of games against maybe the worst team in basketball in Orlando, so an opportunity to pick up some wins.
Yeah, if you're in New York, York, you really want to get out to a hot start this season, and you started it really well with a win over the Boston Celtics. You have an opportunity to go after an undermanned and under-talented team in the Orlando Magic. Sixers is going to be a tough game, but that's a good litmus test. So too is the Chicago Bulls, and I just got done watching the New Orleans Pelicans last night without Zion Williamson, who ballooned to almost 300 pounds this offseason because of a lower body injury on his foot. They're not the same team either. So you got to beat the Magic if you're the Knicks. Continue this momentum, continue this hot start, and let that momentum ride and carry you so that you can stack up these wins so that when it comes playoff time, you're able to lock down, like they did last year, home court advantage and one of the top 4 seeds in the East.
My rule of thumb in the NBA, if you beat the lottery type of teams 90% of the time and then split the rest of your games, you're going to win 45-plus games.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So, yeah, I'm with you. You got to sweep the Magic. You start out 3-0, and then, hey, you're off to the races in this 82-game season. So let's ask you this. We're one game into this, but we're already asking you, are the Knicks for real? Type Y for yes, type in for no. Get your votes in down in the comments. Give me a Y for yes, give me an N for no, and let us know what you guys think about the Knicks. And we can get some shout-outs here. Are the Knicks for real? Corey says yes. Sam says yes as well. Gamer Dude says, so. He's not really believing yet, Chase. You think they're real?
Right now, I think they're real,
but
what you mean this isn't like a prisoner of the moment type thing.
This is carrying over from last year.
We love what the Knicks did in free agency to have a backup plan after going fishing for some of the big fish in the free agent pond. They don't land those guys, but what do? They have another alternative plan, and they end up signing a lot of guys who can really help you in a variety of ways.
Yeah, I mean, they would have loved to, trade for a Dame Lillard or something like that, or go get another star, but a combination of Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier is not a bad plan B whatsoever, so I think that worked out pretty well. David says no. Corey, yes. T4K says yes. Let's see. Darkman says yes. David, no. My burner account says yes. 30 racks. I don't know. That's probably fair. We're one game into this. Let's see. Sven says maybe or we'll see. Gamer Dude says so. SM says yes. We can get to a couple of quick questions here. So use hashtag NBA. We'll answer these questions frequently throughout the show. Hashtag NFL if you have NFL questions. Will Minnesota be a playoff contender this year, and will they be a championship contender in 3 years? Looked great in their first game. A lot of points.
So when an organization hasn't been a title contender for my entire lifetime, which has spanned 29 years, I'm not going to go ahead and say they're going to be a championship contender anytime in the future. Now, I kind of like their core. Anthony Edwards, good player. Karl Anthony Towns has to take that next step, in my opinion.
Could they get into that play-in tournament?
I never really rely on D'Angelo Russell to be a clutch player, even though he puts up a lot of numbers. Could they get into the play-in tournament?
Top 10?
I think that's more realistic.
Yeah, it's definitely at least a possibility. So appreciate that question. We'll do one more here. Dalton asks, how do you think Jalen Green will do this year? Well, kind of a rookie type of opener. I think he went 4-14 or something like that in his first game. He's going to be Anthony Edwards, like you said. He's going to have nights where he goes 4-14.
Some nights great, some
then
nights
he'll be
bad.
12 of 17 the next night.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the rookie of the year. That's my prediction.
He'll get a lot of opportunities.
Sit here at the start of the season because, like you said, he's going to have so many offensive opportunities. And some nights, I think he can drop 30 because he has that scoring ability, which I think will translate. Other nights, he'll be cold, getting acclimated with the NBA game.
Yeah, it's going to be a transition year for the Rockets. Get these young guys some reps, and we will see how it plays out. One more question here, and then we're going to jump into the latest around Ben Simmons. So stay tuned for that. If we keep Tua, which position should we go after in the trade deadline? Wide receiver, offensive line. So a Dolphins question here. I think you got to improve up front.
Definitely have to improve up front.
I think it starts there, especially with a guy like Tua who's been fragile. And then you're going to have to get another weapon, too, because I don't think they'll re-sign Will Fuller. He can't stay healthy.
No.
But I think you get a legitimate tackle and then a wide receiver. I would go in that order.
Yeah, I mean, they have some solid weapons offensively with Jalen Waddle, Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki, but something just seems to be missing there. Maybe it's just quarterback.
How about a new offensive coordinator?
Yeah.
I think their play calling sucks.
We'll have Tua trade destinations coming up
I don't
later.
know how good Tua is, but I don't like their play calling.
This would be another offensive coordinator, though.
Oh, gosh.
From last year. It's not good.
Just not good. All right, we'll talk more Tua trade destinations later on in the show, but got to talk about the NBA next. Are we sure we do this for NBA?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know we were even supposed to do that. Okay, I guess that's what we're doing. All right, here we go. Today's show is presented by Magic Spoon. And guys, if you want to get $5 off your first order, go to magicspoon.com/chat. Get $5 off. I'm rocking with the seasonal maple waffle. It is fall, and who doesn't love some pancakes? Come on.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
ride here. So try that flavor. Try all their different flavors. Their cereal is fantastic. It's healthy, and it tastes delicious. magicspoon.com/chat. Get $5 off your first order. All right, well, Ben Simmons, the drama continues, Chase. I'm just going to let you do your thing here. A lot to unpack. Suspended for the season opener. Where are we at with Ben Simmons and the 76ers?
Well, these new developments continue to come out. We're recording this during our live shows. We go live on any given Thursday, every single Thursday, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. Daryl Morey just got off the air on 97.5 The Fanatic in Philadelphia, a radio station that I actually used to intern at, and was very, very honest about the Ben Simmons situation right now. I'm just going to pass along these notes really quickly. Daryl Morey saying we actually are expecting him to be at shoot-around tomorrow prior to the home opener against the Brooklyn Nets on Friday. He also said to Mike Missinelli, right now, if we traded Ben Simmons like he wants, all we would get back is role players, and that would make no sense. This is telling. I would be prepared to strap in because it will take a while. Simmons is a difference playmaking. And this can go on for 4 years. That's something else that Daryl Morey had said. And, quote, people should buckle in. This is going to go a long time. I think that's some hyperbole. I think he's going to get dealt at some point this year. I would just be shocked if he actually suits up in a Sixers uniform. But the developments over the last couple of weeks, Harrison, have been crazy, so nothing surprises me at this point, especially when you look at that timeline.
Yeah, and this timeline really goes back to the end of the postseason where he flamed out in that series against the Hawks. He was really bad the whole playoff run, especially from the free throw line. Could not make a free throw. Doc Rivers basically giving a non-answer when asked if he could be a championship point guard.
The pass.
Yes. So he has a wide open dunk and he passes it for some reason. So you have that playoff disaster. Then you get to August. He flies out to Los Angeles.
So the team officials fly out to Los Angeles.
to go meet with him.
Doc Rivers, Daryl Morey, Josh Harris, Elton Brand. They meet with him and they try to plead with him to come back to Philadelphia to rejoin the team. Now, at that point, he had already packed up his apartment in Philly.
Yeah.
He had put his house up for sale, but they fly out there to try to bring him back. Not successful at all.
Yeah, so then you get closer to the season. He's basically gone for all of training camp. He just shows up, by the way, after his training camp holdout, and someone gets in touch with, was it Doc Rivers or Daryl Morey? Hey, Ben Simmons is outside for a COVID test. What? We didn't even know he's in Philadelphia right now, so you've got that going on.
Showed up out of nowhere, unexpected. Elton Brand is just chilling inside the Wells Fargo Center, gets a text, and they're like, hey, Ben Simmons is here. He's ready to report. Elton Brand's like, what? We weren't expecting him to report. That's why everything with this situation is just so crazy right now. And earlier on this week, there were a lot of reports about him getting kicked out of that practice by Doc Rivers, him basically declining to Doc Rivers' face that he wasn't going to partake in any of these drills. This is what The Athletic had to report on Ben Simmons. On Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, Simmons was the first 76ers player to leave practice. No surprise there. He simply came and went, changing clothes and not even showering at the team's facility. Simmons showed up to the 76ers practice on Tuesday with a similar disposition, disengaged from everyone, spending time alone, and displaying the same stoic face. Rivers wanted Simmons to take a spot on defense during his walkthrough drill, and Simmons shook his head and refused. So Rivers asked once more, Ben, get in. Then basically Ben Simmons said, no. So Doc Rivers said, go home. Now, some more additional reporting to what happened today.
This is like middle school, a middle school coach trying to get that kid that's not really sportsy to participate in practice, and he's like, no, I want to go play Xbox. That's what this sounds like.
And today he shows up, and the Sixers aren't supposed to have an organized practice because they play tomorrow, but he was supposed to show up, do some individual workouts, and he shows up to the facility, and he's like, you know what? My back hurts. So he gets treatment on that. The Sixers trainers clear him to partake in those drills. Then he just dips and goes home.
You know whose back should hurt? Joel Embiid's for carrying Ben Simmons all of last year's playoff run and still almost getting them to the conference finals. Let me just say this, and I know you're the Philly guy. This is basically your show right here. Ben Simmons is one of the biggest frauds of all time after how he's acted in the last 3 or 4 months. I'm not sure I can ever remember an athlete carrying himself in a manner to this level of embarrassment. This is beyond anything we've ever seen. At least James Harden last year, yeah, he came in overweight. He's still dropping 35 a night until the Rockets traded him. It's just an absolute joke. And then you've got the latest reports. He's willing to do whatever it takes to get out of Philadelphia. He doesn't care. Just get me out of there. I just think it's an absolute disgrace at the end of the day.
And I think this is going to last a little while, as Daryl Morey had said, because Daryl Morey is a good businessman. Daryl Morey is very, very aggressive. He wants an all-star player back, and he had said just moments ago on 97.5 The Fanatic that if we were to trade Ben Simmons right now, the market is so thin that we wouldn't get basically anything back for a player who first-team all-defense the last 2 years and has made it to 3 all-star games. And I understand, because I hail from this area, that Philadelphia isn't the easiest place to play. But I thought the center for the Philadelphia Eagles, Jason Kelce, said it best today when he basically said and took a direct shot at Ben Simmons, saying, all you have to do is hustle and give effort. Never come up with excuses. Own up to your mistakes and just try to be the best player that you can be. Ben Simmons has never done that. And instead of being fearless, Ben Simmons has always just been fearful. And this kind of dates back to his scouting report at LSU. And Jonathan Givony, the scouting report starting to circulate, had some concerns about Simmons, how he handles adversity, how he responds to challenges, how in big games he kind of just folds. That goes to show you he's not fearless, Harrison. He is fearful.
Yeah, the lack of competitiveness and being a competitor is really telling right now. The season's already here, and he just has no interest in playing. I think it's an absolute joke. Pick a side. Ben Simmons or 76ers. Type BS for Simmons. Type 76 for the Sixers. If you're typing BS, I guess you're part of Ben Simmons' family, because this isn't even a debate for me. I think he's carrying himself in a total. It's beyond unprofessional. It's just embarrassing at this point. So let us know. BS for Simmons or 76 for 76ers. Something that's not even a question at all is how good and how healthy Magic Spoon cereal is.
Damn
and
right.
if you guys want to get in on the best cereal in the game, get $5 off at our link below, chatsports.com/chat. Chase, they have a ton of magicspoon.com/chat, excuse me. Tons of different flavors available. You got the blueberry, you got the cocoa. I'm rocking with the seasonal maple waffle here as well. Do you have a favorite flavor? If you had to pick one, what are you rolling with?
So my favorite treat is to get some cocoa, roll it up into some peanut butter balls, throw it in the freezer for 20 minutes. My favorite flavor, though, straight up, if I'm just throwing some milk in there, it's got to be fruity, which is right on your screen here.
Exactly. And hey, if you don't like those flavors, tons of others are available. magicspoon.com/chat. Get $5 off your very first order, and you will enjoy the best cereal on the planet. You can't get the stuff at the grocery store. Got to order it online, and you might as well use our link to get $5 off. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at with the latest drama. Let's look at some potential teams that the Sixers could trade him to eventually if it's not going to happen in the near future, and maybe a couple of trade packages as well. You cooked up the Pacers, Raptors, T-Wolves, Trailblazers, and the Spurs. Any reason why these teams specifically?
There's a big reason why these teams are on this list, because these are a lot of the teams who have been engaged in some of these Ben Simmons trade talks over time. And when you look at the landscape of these individual rosters, all of these organizations have players that they could send back for Ben Simmons that are salary cap matchers. So the Pacers have been involved in some of these discussions throughout the last several months. So too have the Toronto Raptors, T-Wolves, Trailblazers, Spurs, all for different reasons, including different trade packages, but all are pretty intriguing packages. So I went into the ESPN trade machine and I did cook up a bunch of different trade ideas. We're going to relay some of them to you and then also react to some of these trades that I think realistically could happen and make sense for Philadelphia. So the number one trade idea that we're bringing to you, the Sixers would receive Domantas Sabonis, who was an all-star last year, very underrated, very good player, as well as Karis LeVert, who gives you a scoring option at the wing, and then the Pacers would get Ben Simmons. This works from a financial standpoint, Harrison.
Yeah, look, I mean, Daryl Morey just said that he doesn't believe you could get an all-star back at this point, so something would have to change to get a guy like Domantas Sabonis, who was an all-star last year, and it wasn't a fluke. This has been a good player for some time now. Karis LeVert is a nice young player as well. I'm a big fan of Sabonis. He's a beast. I think he's one of the best young up-and-coming bigs in the NBA. He continues to get better. Now, Could you poach him away from Rick Carlisle? Would Rick Carlisle, who is now the Pacers head coach, want to deal with the drama queen that is Ben Simmons? I don't know. I think that's a fair question to be asked. I think the package makes sense if you're getting max value or close to it for Ben Simmons. Would Indiana take that right now? Probably not. You'd have to probably get closer to the trade deadline, but I think from pure value, that could be a possibility. Let's take a look at this second trade you cooked up.
Yeah, trade idea number 2. It's a player-for-player swap. Toronto has been flirting with trading away Pascal Siakam for a long time. Their salaries are almost identical. And yeah, while ideally for Philadelphia, you want more floor spacing and guys who are more of a creator than Ben Simmons, and Pascal Siakam doesn't really fit that category, but he's worked so hard over time on his game and has stretched his offensive game out to the perimeter. He's a very good defensive player as well. I think Siakam could be a nice little return for Ben Simmons. And then our last trade idea is with the Portland Trail Blazers. This is probably one of the more popular ones out there. It does not include Damian Lillard, though. Instead, it would include C.J. McCollum, former 76er Robert Covington, a.k.a. Rocco going back to Philly, as well as Nasir Little and Larry Nance Jr. There's been a lot of conversation about Nasir Little having a breakout campaign, so that could be a good haul for Philadelphia. The Blazers then receive the monster salary of Ben Simmons as well as Tobias Harris
Big
to
contract.
make up for some of those contracts that you're absorbing, and the Blazers would also get Shake Milton. So here, Philadelphia is getting a playmaker at the end of shot clocks, the end of games in C.J. McCollum, a 3-and-D guy in Covington, and then 2 very good complementary pieces in Little and Nance. What are your thoughts on that one?
I mean, I've always been a big fan of McCollum. Now, I've become lukewarm on him next to Damian Lillard. I think that duo needs to be split up, so this could end up being a win-win. I like getting Covington back, too, because obviously, as much as we're bagging on Simmons, you're going to miss his defense if you trade him. So you get some of that back with a guy like Rocco, who's an excellent defender, can also shoot the 3 ball as well. But I thought you made a good point. We've talked about this time and time again. The Sixers in crunch time, sometimes you just need a dude that you can give the ball to at the top of the key and say, hey, go get us a bucket or go create a play for us. C.J. McCollum can do that. You can't really put Joel Embiid 30 feet from the basket consistently. Sometimes you can, but consistently and say, hey, go win a game for us. C.J. McCollum can do that, though. Is he a number 1? No. But can he be a closer? I think so, especially you pair him next to Joel Embiid. That one's intriguing to me, Chase. I think that is the one. If you could get McCollum's 25 points per game scoring in here, that feels like a difference-making type of trade.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So which one do you think is the best? If it's the Pacers trade with Domantas Sabonis, Karis LeVert coming back, type IND, Pascal Siakam with the Toronto Raptors, type TOR, or that Blazers haul, type POR? Get those votes in the comment section right now.
Some drama around Marvin Bagley as well. Obviously, Ben Simmons creating all of the headlines, Chase. But let's talk Bagley now, who is not in the Kings rotation despite being the number 2 pick just a few years ago. It's amazing how quickly this is kind of fallen apart for Bagley in Sacramento.
His Kings career has fizzled basically before it ever even started. Now, he was the number 2 pick in that 2018 draft, right after DeAndre Ayton, and ahead of Luka Doncic, as well as Trae Young. That's just a classic Sacramento Kings pick. Now, I still think the guy can play, but his career in Sacramento has gotten off to a bad start. So bad that I actually kind of feel bad for him. Not in this Kings rotation. And his agent, Jeff Schwartz, not happy about that at all. He issued this statement, which was a direct blow right toward Sacramento, saying this: Sacramento has informed Marvin Bagley he is not in the opening night rotation, which is completely baffling. It's clear they have no plans for him in the future, and yet they passed on potential deals at last year's deadline and this summer based on quote-unquote value. Instead, they chose to bring him back but not play him, a move that completely is contradictory to their value argument. And I actually agree. I don't often side with agent talk, but Bagley's just got to get out of Sacramento, and they have to get rid of him because they're not using the dude.
Yeah, if you're not playing him, this is not the what's his name was doing with Simmons, because Simmons obviously Simmons would play if he would stop acting like a baby. Like if he went to the Sixers tomorrow and said, "Hey, I still want to be traded, but I'm ready to work," He would be in the starting lineup tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But that's not the situation. Bagley, who say what you want about him, Chase, he's averaged 14 and 8 in his career.
Yeah,
it's not like
bad.
he's been awful. Now, has he been worthy of the number 2 pick, especially in that draft class? Absolutely not. But he can't play 20 minutes off the bench for the Sacramento Kings. Like, I don't get this whatsoever. If I'm him, I'm demanding a trade immediately because he's on a contract year, set to be a free agent after this year. It doesn't help him or, quite frankly, Sacramento at all to keep him hanging around this year. He needs a fresh start. He needs new scenery because I think this guy can play. Now, he's brutal defensively, but there's a lot of bigs in today's NBA that don't defend very well, and they're still very good players. He can score around the basket. He's inconsistent as a jump shooter, but he has good form. I think that can improve. You got to get him to an organization that is willing to play him and help him grow. And clearly that's not going to be the Sacramento Kings. So I actually agree with Jeff Schwartz's logic. Either play him because you think he has good value or trade him because you think he has good value. Doing neither makes no sense.
Yeah, you're just going to ruin the confidence of a young player who you selected number 2. Obviously, you were high on at the time. Can you just do him a favor and get him out of Sacramento? It's doing him no favors, and it's doing yourself no favors.
You're not going to pay him.
At least try to get something back.
Yeah, get a player and a second-round pick
The
back.
more you hold him out of the lineup, the more his value diminishes.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So what's the best destination for Marvin Bagley III? Let us know down in the comments and get your votes in. All right, let us know. Someone says Spurs get Bagley back in the playoffs. I would actually like that. San Antonio has done a good job in recent years. They're not like a contender type team, but they tend to get a lot out of young players.
And they just rebuild players' games as well as their confidence. I think the Spurs would be a great option for Bagley.
Yeah, I think that I actually like that one quite
Miami
a bit.
Heat from Marquise Robertson.
Corey
They're a player
says,
development factory.
Corey says the Rockets. I think get him with a young team that he can play with. On paper, Sacramento actually makes a lot of sense. But something has gone wrong there. I don't know what it is, but they just won't play him. I don't know what the beef is. L2 says the Bears. Yeah, he's not working the seam for Justin Fields, L2, unfortunately.
T4K Smith 77 saying Warriors. I think they're too deep for Marvin Bagley.
Yeah.
I don't know where he'd play. Also, you have a lefty big who is somewhat similar to him in James Wiseman.
Yeah, I see Clippers in there, another Rockets. I like this Spurs one. I really do like. I think that makes a lot of sense. Kevin says the Mavericks. I've explored that. They actually have a lot of bigs, though. I mean, a lot.
Yeah,
of
they
bigs.
do.
They have 6 guys 6'10" or taller.
Yeah.
I mean, that's already probably too many 4s and 5s. So Miami Heat. I don't know if he'd play a lot there. Maybe he could be a backup to Bam Adebayo. Maybe that could be an option, but. I'm not so sure. I'll get a couple of your questions, your thoughts in here. Bulls and Warriors in the playoffs this year. I think so, right?
I think for sure. We're going to be doing the NBA play-in tournament again, so the top 10 teams are eligible for postseason play.
Yeah.
I think the Warriors are definitely going to get into the playoffs. The vibe around that organization right now, very, very confident that they can make a deep run. They kind of feel re-energized a bit, and I think the Bulls are very good as well. I was impressed with that win last night against the Detroit Pistons.
Gamer Dude says, "What up, Goat Chase and Goat Harrison? What's good, man?
We're both goats.
What exactly? What are the keys for the Clippers to beat the 1-0 Warriors?" So that game's tonight, Golden State, LA.
Paul George going to have to play well.
Yeah,
Reggie Jackson going to have to play well.
Fascinated to see what this Clippers team looks like without Kawhi for most, if not all, of the year.
We're going to see the Indiana Pacers Paul George, I think, where they relied upon him to basically make, get buckets, and contribute a massive load offensively. I think that's what you're going to see from LA.
And I think the X factor is, was it just a hot streak in the playoffs for Reggie Jackson?
Yes.
Or is he a real player?
Yeah.
And
if he's a real player, it changes things.
And he's been a good player for a while, but that 2 months was the best stretch of his career.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. So if he can give you that level of play, that obviously it changes things and keeps them for sure in the playoff hunt. Who you got Thursday Night Football coming up later tonight? Here in a few moments, we'll get into some Tua trade rumors, some destinations for him if the Dolphins trade him. Type DEN for the Broncos, type CLE for the Browns. Chase, the Browns are absolutely decimated for this game. No Baker Mayfield, no Kareem Hunt, no Nick Chubb.
Odell Beckham Jr. out.
Jarvis Landry is back, but he's been on IR.
Their
O-line is banged up. Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah, I believe, is out. They've got injuries everywhere.
You know what's weird is that I know that they're so ravaged by injuries, but I feel like starting Case Keenum is going to help them out and help them be a better offense.
He's kind
because
of
I think Baker Mayfield has just been so limited because of that labrum injury.
Keenum's kind of just a calming influence.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to be overwhelmed.
And he's just going to distribute the football where it
Yeah.
needs to go. He's not going to try to push the button, you know.
Yeah.
I kind of like what Case Keenum can do for Cleveland tonight. Now,
This
it's a
is why
long-term
you
starter,
sign.
no.
This is
but-
why you sign a Case Keenum,
Yeah,
though. This
yeah.
guy has
Relief effort, I
he's
dig it.
played in an NFC Championship game. Like, he started a lot of games. I actually kind of like Cleveland, even without all of
I'm
the
with you,
injuries.
man.
So
Something weird tells
should
me
be,
they're going to win this game.
Should be a fun. It's a key game for both teams.
Yes,
Pair
it
of
is.
3-3 teams in the AFC. Gamer Dude says Denver. Corey says Cleveland. Marquis says Cleveland as well. L2 Cloud rolling with the Broncos, and Corey rolling with the Browns. Okay, we'll jump back into some NBA discussion coming up in about 10 or 15 minutes, but a lot of drama. Deshaun Watson could be heading to Miami, so let's take a look at some potential trade fits for Tua Tagovailoa. We're rolling along here on any given Thursday. I am Harrison Graham. He is Chase Sr. Tua Tagovailoa trade destinations. Could the Dolphins quarterback be on the move? Well, Chase, this all stems from a potential Deshaun Watson trade to Miami. So could Tua be on the move? We'll explore it and take a look at some potential fits. Catch us up on what's been happening in Miami.
Sometimes I wish that the viewers had a webcam of our reactions inside the Chat Sports offices, because when this news came out from John McClain, who's a very credible reporter covering the Houston Texans, you don't take it with a grain of salt. You take stock in those types of reports because he's one of the better Texans reporters in the history of Texans reporters, and a very, very responsible and trustworthy NFL reporter. So he comes out yesterday saying a Tua Tagovailoa, Deshaun Watson trade could happen at some point soon. Tua continues to be kind of a porous option for the Miami Dolphins. He's dealing with some injury issues, not quite providing that spark and that pop for the Miami Dolphins offense. Coming off that injury that he suffered a few weeks ago, and really injuries have been a consistent theme going back to his Alabama days, which I think has made him expendable and has caused all of this conversation of him just being a draft pick bust.
It's all very curious to me because we haven't even seen him start a full season worth of games. In 13 games, look, the numbers don't jump off, right?
No.
14 touchdowns, 7 picks.
In 13 starts, that ain't it.
That's pretty pedestrian. I will say everybody's going to compare him to Justin Herbert forever because he went one slot ahead of Herbert. Obviously, Joe Burrow, the number one pick in that draft as well. I think by far Justin Herbert has had a better situation than Tua.
Yep.
The weapons around him, better. The play calling, better. The offensive line, better. Now, head coach, you could go either way. I think right now for sure
Herbert's on his second already, but Tua's had 2 OCs.
Yeah, and look, am I saying that I would take Tua over Herbert? Hell no, I would take Justin Herbert. I'm simply saying that this is not the first time we've seen a young quarterback come in and be up and down, and a lot of factors around him are not that great. So would I punt on him this early? Probably not, but they seem pretty interested in Deshaun Watson, so we'll keep tabs on that story as well. So let's ask you this question. Then we'll take a look at 6 teams that could trade for Tua. Will the Dolphins trade him away? Type T for trade, type K for keep. We'll make this the pinned comment on today's video, so if you get hit with the YouTube ad break, scroll on down and just type a T or type a K. All right, we cooked up 6 teams. We'll start with these 3 and then get to 3 more that could trade for Tua, teams that I and you believe could make sense for the young lefty quarterback. How about Washington, right? You got Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't think anyone thinks Taylor Heineke's a long-term solution as a starter. I think he's proven he can be a good backup. Does that make sense? Could Washington be a good fit? They've got some nice young weapons.
Well, what's the most glaring need on Washington's roster right now and looking into the future? It's at the quarterback position, and I was confused at what they did in the offseason or what they didn't do addressing the quarterback spot. They had an opportunity to sign a quarterback in free agency. They go with Ryan Fitzpatrick. They had an opportunity to maybe move up in the NFL draft to get their future signal caller. They elected not to do that. Now, Taylor Heineke, I think he can be a very good backup and a very good spot starter, but is Taylor Heineke the face of your franchise? No. Is Tua Tagovailoa that? I'm not sure. The jury is still out. He doesn't have many explosive qualities. He's not really that athletic or fast, doesn't have the greatest arm, but what he did at Alabama, I think there were glimpses of him being a very,
Throws a
very
great
solid
deep ball.
long-term starter. And at the very least, if Tua doesn't become that, could he be a cheap, affordable, high-end backup for Washington moving into the future as they stabilize that position a little bit more? I think so.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a lot of good points there. Tua can at least be a fringe starter type. All right, today's show is sponsored by BetUS. 5 more teams to get into. If you want to make some money this weekend for Week 7, one place to do it. Guys, little inside tip. I'm 12-3 the last 3 weeks. Your boy is hot. I tweet out my picks every Sunday morning, so give me a follow at HGramNFL. If you want to get going with BetUS, click the link below. It's chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code CHAT125. You deposit $100, they'll give you $125 for free. With that 125% deposit bonus, stay tuned. Chase and I will give our picks as well later on our live show on Thursday. Okay, Pittsburgh Steelers. This is the one that there's been no reporting on this, but I think really could make a lot of sense here, Chase. I would love to see Tua in Pittsburgh. I would love to see them trade for him and give him the 2022 season. Big Ben's got to go after this year.
Oh,
he should have gone after last year. They brought him back because the contract was bad. They restructured. Okay, fine. A lot of moving parts there. You can't let him take a snap in 2022. Tua, though, if you can't get a guy like Aaron Rodgers, they'll certainly explore that. I think with the weapons they have at wide receiver with Juju Smith-Schuster, you have a nice young running back in Najee Harris that Tua overlapped with at Alabama. I think that could make a lot of sense. I like Mike Tomlin as a head coach, Chase. I think Pittsburgh might be my favorite fit if Tua could go to another team. I would like it even more if you could trade for him midseason and he could sit behind Ben Roethlisberger for a couple of months, a guy who's been there and done that. And then in 2022, you maybe have your answer at quarterback.
Yeah, real quick, what was the argument you made earlier when comparing Tua to Justin Herbert? It's that Herbert has had the better foundation, the better surroundings, the easier start with that respective organization. For Tua, he hasn't had that, but what does Pittsburgh have? Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season since he's been the head coach of Pittsburgh. They're one of the best identifiers and developers of wide receiver talent. You know that as long as Mike Tomlin is there, that defense is going to be ready to play. That's been the calling card for that franchise for a really long time now. So I would like him going to Pittsburgh. And yeah, you make a good point. You get him this year, in the middle of the year, let him just cool off a little bit and regain that confidence.
Yeah, so who will be the Steelers' next quarterback? Because I don't think anyone on the planet, including Ben Roethlisberger, thinks he'll be the starter in 2022. So who's it going to be? Now, I think they're going to go after Aaron Rodgers. We'll see how that ends up playing out, but maybe the answer is Tua. Let us know down in the comments. Okay, we got another team here. The New Orleans Saints, kind of similar reasons. Different in the sense that obviously Jameis Winston's still a young quarterback, but I think he's still got a lot to prove over the next dozen or so games in New Orleans if he's worthy of another contract. If he flames out, maybe you trade for Tua, who's still on his rookie contract, and you give him the keys to the offense for 2022.
When Tua throws the ball, it's not like he has a bazooka, a rocket launcher, elite arm strength. Well, Drew Brees didn't have an elite arm for a long time, and Sean Payton and Drew Brees were able to win a lot of games over a long period of time. A reason why Drew Brees was so successful with Sean Payton, his football IQ. And I think a big reason why Tua was able to succeed at Alabama, he had the want to and he had the football IQ. That's why Nick Saban went with him in part, because he was a very, very smart player. So I think Tua would be able to be successful in New Orleans, and I'm not sure Jameis Winston is the long-term solution.
And I think what Sean Payton would do is really simplify an offense for Tua. Like, nothing Drew Brees did there was ever overly fancy. He didn't throw a ton of 50-yard bombs downfield. It was a quick passing attack. Mm-hmm. When I watch Miami, I see a lot of five-step drops, and he's trying to, wait for these plays to develop downfield, like these deep crossers and all these dynamic passing routes. Get the ball out of his hands. I think that is a type of offense that he could excel in, get work some play action as well. That's something Drew Brees did very well with the Saints. I don't like what the Dolphins are doing with Tua. He certainly has some blame to own, but I don't think they're putting him in great positions to succeed. We succeed here at Chat Sports. At least we think we do. If you like what you're seeing, if you like our videos, subscribe to the channel and turn on those notifications. That way you're going to get buzzed on your phone. Hey, another video from Chat Sports. Boom, you can click on it and you can watch whatever video that is. A bunch of content from us here at any given Thursday. You see myself, Chase, Mitch, Tom. We're cranking out videos all the time, so subscribe and turn on noties. All right, we got 3 more teams, Chase. So the Houston Texans, there's reports coming out that if they trade Watson, they actually aren't that interested in Tua. I don't know if I believe that, and even if it's true, I still think they're worth mentioning because that still seems the easiest way to facilitate a Watson trade to Miami to send Tua back to Houston.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me for Houston to not be engaged, not be interested in Tua
Davis
because
Mills
they have Davis Mills who's playing right now as well as Tyrod Taylor. So Davis Mills has been very up and down. There's no doubt that he is not the long-term starter in Houston, nor is Tyrod Taylor. There's a reason why he's been a backup for a long time, and Davis Mills was pegged as basically a backup type of player coming out of college. Houston doesn't have their future quarterback. Could Tua be it? He's not going to be a Deshaun Watson, but maybe he could be serviceable to at least bridge the gap to that next guy.
So speaking of Watson, a lot of smoke around him. I'm going to type my end for no. Until I see it, I'm not going to believe it. But what do you guys think? Will he get traded before the November 2nd trade deadline? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I know there's a lot of smoke. I believe John McClain's reports. I don't think there's any doubt. There's been conversations between the Texans and Dolphins. I just cannot buy into it with 22 sexual assault claims out there. So we'll see what happens. Let us know what you guys think. Type your Y for yes or type your N for no. How about the Denver Broncos? Similar to Houston, Mike Klis, Klis, you can find him on Twitter. He's been covering the Broncos for years. He reports that the Broncos are not interested in Tua, but I do think there could be a scenario where that makes sense. I think they've basically decided that Drew Lock is not the future. You don't go to Teddy Bridgewater unless that's the case.
No.
And we know Teddy Bridgewater is not a long-term solution. Like, he's a good stopgap guy. He can run an offense, but you're not going to the promised land with Teddy Bridgewater. Now, are you with Tua? I would probably lean no at this point, but you at least need to find that out, and maybe Denver could be a team that is willing to find that out, maybe buy low on a guy like Tua, bring him in here and see what he can do.
What's the consistent theme among these teams that we're talking about? They don't have a long-term starter at quarterback,
exactly.
And if you don't have a quarterback who is your franchise guy, you're in NFL purgatory. And right now, the Broncos have been an average franchise ever since Peyton Manning left because they haven't been able to get the quarterback right. So at the very least, a team like the Broncos, the Texans, the next team coming up as our last Tua destination, the Atlanta Falcons, who are a little bit more sure with Matt Ryan right now, at least take a chance, at least be aggressive to take a chance on a guy who came into the league with pedigree. So many people were calling him a sure thing. He's got some ability. He's got some potential, some talent. Take a swing and at least hope that it might work out, and if it doesn't, you pivot from there. But you're not going to have to give up all that much for Tua Tagovailoa at this point of his career.
Yeah, and you think about Atlanta specifically, and by the way, you Dolphins fans, youtube.com/Dolphins News, RC Maxfield cranking out videos all the time over there. Go check that out. But I kind of like the Falcons similar to the Steelers, although maybe it's a year later. I think there's a good chance Matt Ryan is here in 2022 for Atlanta. But what's the worst that can happen if you sit a kid down for a year and a half, and let him learn? What, he learns more about the game? I mean, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing whatsoever if Atlanta wanted to look in that direction and bring in a guy like Tua, because obviously they're going to be trying to win this year, and this year's draft class is not that good at quarterback. So maybe they're thinking, okay, let's go get Tua. Ryan's our guy in 2022, and if we feel like Tua's ready after that, boom, 2023, you plug him in. Maybe you trade Matty Ice at that point.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like, Matt Ryan hasn't shown the age that some other quarterbacks have, like a Ben Roethlisberger. He's not that bad.
Not to that degree.
But Matt Ryan is on the downward trajectory of his career. He's on the back nine, maybe on hole 16 with 17 and 18 coming up. Just don't choke down the stretch like some golfers do out there. But, the Atlanta Falcons could be a Tua destination for sure.
Yeah, I think that could make a lot of sense. So those are our 6 teams that we think make sense. What do you think? What team should trade for Tua? Let us know down in the comments. Where would you like to see Tua play next? All right. What do you guys think? Where should Tua head to? Uno says, I agree, saying too early for Tua. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and say Tua has been awesome, because he hasn't. He is 7-5 as a starter, though. I mean, is that
14 touchdowns and 13 games in today's pass-happy league? That's just not going to cut it.
No, the volume's been bad, and he certainly has had injury problems, and it's not like he's gone out there and, shredded teams consistently. But 13 games isn't a ton, man. I mean, Justin Fields' raw numbers through 13 games may look something similar to that. But when you watch him, you're like, okay, like
you see the potential.
There's real potential here. Like
Rashard Lee saying Cowboys back up.
Man, the thing about Dallas is, do you want to have a guy making $7, $8, $9 million as your backup? Like, they need a good backup.
A lot of teams pay a lot of money to back up QBs.
I know, man, but
because he ain't nothing without a good backup.
Yeah, I mean, if Dak gets hurt, Cooper Rush ain't saving the day. I'll tell you that right now. Watson will have a happen. Dude, come on, Mr. Black. That's bad. that is bad. Gamer Dude says the Texans. Definitely off season though. Yeah, no doubt. Things are gonna kick up in the off season. Appreciate you guys. Hey, we're gonna jump back into the NBA. So shout out your favorite NBA team right now. We are day 3 of the season. Chase, we got a few more games tonight. Got the Mavs and the Hawks. Clippers and the Warriors, some good basketball here on tap for Thursday night. So let us know down in the comments what your favorite NBA team is, and Chase can give some shout-outs to you guys.
Yeah, I'll give you some shout-outs, and then Harrison, I can take the lead on this next one here.
Cool.
Gamer Dude, Texans, David Gonzalez, Spurs, Evan Hinders, Bulls. Nice win last night. Zach LaVine was going off. Go Spurs, go from David Gonzalez. T4K Smith, 77, going with the Warriors. It's Donovan, Denver, Lakers and Bulls from Rakeem Sports, Sam Z, OKC. Gamer Dude just loves those clips. Reen, Clippers, Mavs. What about you? Harrison, you're a Mavs fan.
Hey, well, how about this? We told you guys a little earlier, but some more people have joined in the live chat. You see the ticker below, highlighted in purple? That's what's coming up on the show, and that's going to flash throughout today's show, and we're going to have that moving forward here on any given Thursday. So if you're hopping in to the show and you're like, man, I don't really care about this topic, we're getting to other stuff. Trust me. Like, we got some Warrior stuff to get into. We're going to get into the Lakers later, the Dallas Mavericks, a lot of NBA stuff, some college football. It's all coming up on tap. So make sure you're keeping tabs on what the bottom of the screen is saying there. That way you know what's coming up in the near future. Appreciate you guys for keeping that live chat rowdy here. Let's get back into the NBA and talk about the Golden State Warriors.
Any given Thursday rolls along. I'm Chase Senior. He's Harrison Graham. We're talking about the Golden State Warriors now on today's show because they're off to a really impressive start to this season. We do have some Warriors roster news to get to, though, because this Gary Payton II signing has been made official by Golden State. He was released originally after partaking in Warriors training camp as well as the preseason, but they've brought him back, and now he claims that 15th roster spot. Really fascinating training camp battle between him and Avery Bradley, Michael Mulder, as well as Jordan Bell. But it's Gary Payton II claiming that last roster spot for Golden State. And Harrison, this isn't going to be a guy who's going to get consistent rotation minutes, but he is a guy who Warriors fans are familiar with and they really, really like because of his defensive intensity.
Yeah, played college ball at Oregon State, did some good stuff there a few years back. And this is a classic, hey, when we're resting Steph and we're resting XYZ player, hey, go give us 25 minutes, Gary Payton. He can score a little bit. He can play defense, can play one or the two. So 15th roster spot. And, hey, if they didn't feel like Avery Bradley was going to be in the rotation, then going younger makes sense, and that's what they have decided to do with a guy like Gary Payton II. So certainly interesting to get him back into the mold with this Golden State Warriors team.
So from Gary Payton II, who's an inexperienced player, to a player who could be a future Hall of Famer, who's a former NBA Finals MVP, went away from the Bay for a couple of seasons, now returned back to the Warriors and NBA free agency. We're talking about Andre Iguodala, and so many people are excited about him, not just because of the numbers that he put up in that season-opening win against the Los Angeles Lakers when he scored 12 points on 4 of 7 shooting, 2 of 5 from deep, and was a +8 playing really good defense, but also, Harrison, he looked young, he looked spry, he looked energized, and he didn't look like a washed player like maybe a lot of people had thought he was going to look like because he's been in the league for so long. That includes the people who are impressed about Iggy, Steph Curry, the leader of this franchise. Steph saying this about Iggy, I think when he came here, there was that narrative that he was just a locker room presence and just a veteran who's going to come in and be a chaperone and make sure the young guys stayed on the straight and narrow. But he made it clear from day one that he's still got a lot left in the tank. What he's going to do on the floor will be as meaningful as what he does to boost our culture off the floor and help the young guys. He played 23 minutes the other night and looked good for all 23 of them. I was impressed with what I saw from Iggy and Harrison. I think some of these roster transactions, these signings, the Andre Iguodala type deals, the Nemanja Bjelica type of contracts, who we'll get to here in just a bit, are huge for championship and playoff level teams because, yes, the culture matters, but so too does veteran experience throughout the course of an NBA season.
It sounds cliche, but Iggy's a culture guy, man. Like, you don't think they missed him after he left?
His defense, no doubt.
His defense,
clutch shot-making ability.
What he brings. I think he 2 of 5 from 3 in the opener, 40% there. That's much better than he shot the past couple of years. He's definitely back in a comfortable place, right? Like, he knows this organization. He feels comfortable with the Golden State Warriors, and they know exactly what he brings to the table. He can defend, he can make an occasional three-point shot, and he's just a great presence in the locker room. And those things matter for a team that's kind of in this phase now where they still have their stars and Steph, and hopefully when Clay gets back, but some young blend as well with guys like James Wiseman once he gets back, Jordan Poole, who has been a big talking point on Golden State Warriors today with what he's been able to bring to the table, both on the floor and to us here at Chat Sports. The real ones know. But in all seriousness, I like what this team did this offseason. Would we have liked to see Golden State get a star? Yes.
Yeah.
But
they have a couple of stars already.
And that star wasn't there to be had.
So they're competing now and building for the future.
Yeah, it's a good, healthy blend. We even saw Moses Moody get a few minutes in the opener. But I've been impressed with Iggy, man. Type I for impressed, type O if he just looks old. He doesn't look old to me, giving you 20-plus minutes in the opener. I thought that was a very good sign overall. Now, if you want to make money on the Warriors all season, this is the place to do it. BetUS. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code CHAT125 because that's going to give you 125% deposit bonus. The key, though, is to use our link. Otherwise, the bonus ain't going to come. Chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code CHAT125. I think after that big win over the Lakers, you would have made some money in that one like Chase and I did, but you can make money the rest of the season. Chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code CHAT125.
So not only does it look like Andre Iguodala, Iggy was a great addition in NBA free agency. Another one that's kind of flown under the radar, but now surfacing, it's the signing of Nemanja Bjelica. So Iggy and Belly, both great additions, and you know who was really pumped up about that performance from Bjelica? Draymond Green was really complimentary of what Nemanja was able to do on both ends of the floor in that season opener, but Steve Kerr going as far as to say it's one of his favorite basketball players he's ever coached. He said, Bjelica, really a hell of a basketball player. We've all watched him stretch the floor and be a pick-and-pop three-point shooter, but he's showing what he's about in terms of his ability to pass, dribble, and make plays. He's quickly becoming a favorite with the guys just because of how smart he is and how easy he makes the game for everyone else. He's really a hell of a player, and what he did on opening night, Harrison, I thought was awfully impressive. Coming in off the bench to play 26 minutes, he was part of that Warriors closing 5, 15 points, was basically unconscious, 6 of 7 from the floor, 11 rebounds as well. Steve Kerr also saying on local radio, they really tried to land Bjelica at the NBA trade deadline last year. Instead, it was the Miami Heat who actually made a deal for him. And if Bjelica continues to play like this, the Warriors could honestly have 2 players in the mix for the 6th Man of the Year award. It could be Belly. It could also be Jordan Poole, who I think might be on the outside looking in for that award. He might not qualify because I think he might continue to start a lot of games even when Klay Thompson comes back. But Belly for 6th man, you all in given what you saw? What you're seeing?
I've liked Bjelica for a while. Why? Because he's a stretch forward that can shoot.
Yeah.
And that is so valuable in the NBA, whether it's a starter or coming off the bench. It's the Dirk Nowitzki effect. When you have bigs that can shoot, it really opens up the offense because you get stuck on pick and pops. You got bigs that can't stretch out to the three-point range, so you can have guards that put the ball on the floor and can burn past these guys. It's just a game changer offensively, and that's why he was plus 20 in the box score. He's always been an underrated player. He's always been an undervalued piece. Miami didn't even really use him when they traded for him last year, which I thought was strange because I liked the move at the time, and he basically was a total non-factor. Well, he's a factor in Golden State, and we've seen that one game into the season with 15 points and, 11 rebounds?
Yeah.
As well, 4 assists. I mean, he can do a little bit of everything. He's almost like gosh, I'm gonna draw a blank here. Who's the guy that bounced around the NBA? French guy, played for the Spurs on that title team. Boris Diaw, yes, he just does everything well.
Producer Sam
he
for the
just
win.
knows how to play the game, and you can't overstate how valuable that is.
So Bielitsa, Iggy, they've looked good here in the early going. None looking better than Jordan Poole.
The pool party
None
is,
getting more buzz
it's always
than
summertime
Jordan Poole.
when Jordan Poole's around.
It's always summertime. Let me ask you this, Harrison. You ready for the pool party?
Always.
Are you all ready for the pool party? I'm diving
I'm
straight
putting my
head
sunscreen
first
on
in.
as we speak.
You're doing a cannonball. Jordan Poole, that preseason that he had when he was going on a heater throughout some of those
Not a
preseason
fluke.
games, doesn't look to be a fluke at all. The guy's got wiggle. The guy's got burst. Steph Curry really trying to develop him into a very good player. Steve Kerr still saying this guy needs to do a lot defensively to get better in the game because he got beat by Avery Bradley late in that one against the Lakers. It did not cost them, but for him to make his debut with all of the expectations on him and just coming through with a clutch performance, 20 points as a whole, 16 after the break, able to overcome that slow start. The pool party's on and popping.
Hey, defense matters, but if you're giving me 20 a night, you're playing for me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's just what it comes down to. That's why we half jokingly, half seriously said, is this the third splash, bro?
Yeah.
In the Bay? Because the pool party.
The hype is real.
You're in the splash zone when Jordan Poole is in the area.
No
That's all
question.
I'm saying. And he's been tremendous. I like the theme of this show because obviously you could talk about Steph Curry on every show, but role players matter in the NBA, and we're not overlooking role players here on any given Thursday or on Golden State Warriors today. So kudos to Belly, Iggy, and of course Jordan Poole repping at the pool party. So crystal ball time. How many games will the Warriors win this season?
More than 50 games.
82 games. Really?
Yes.
You're going 50 plus.
I think they could win 50 games in a tough West.
82-game season, 1-0 so far, maybe 1-1 or 2-0, depending on when you watch this video. How many games will the Warriors win this season? So let us know in the chat. Chase says 50 games. They're going to win 50. What do you guys think? How many wins for Golden State?
MVP sounds better. Luka from Uno. Nuggets. Anthony Estrada.
50 plus from
50 plus from Alizé. What's up, Alizé? How you doing, my man? F the Packers from Brian Tucker. Hey, okay. Yeah, about 52 from Rakeem Sports. 58 from Sup.
Hey, this is funny.
Sup.
Uno thought I was talking about Leandro Barbosa. That's another good player that did everything well.
Another good
So
role player.
that's
Chris Romero, 48 games, 48 wins for the Dubs, 45 plus at least from T4K Smith 77.
52 from Hakeem.
So we're going
58 from. If they win 58, they might be the number one seed.
Yeah, really.
I don't know
Anthony
if that can
Estrada,
happen.
48.
Maybe.
58, you tripping from Rakeem Sports. He knows.
50. I mean, if Clay's back and healthy soonish, maybe, but it doesn't sound like he's going to play until February. So we'll see what happens. We'll get a couple of NBA questions in here, and then we'll keep it moving here on any given Thursday. Mavericks to the finals from Roy. Let's win a playoff series first.
Yeah.
It's you can't swim before you can float. So let's get past the first round. 30 Rack says, can I add on Ben to Indiana trade? What about TJ Warren? I don't mind that one.
You could throw him in that deal.
Warren was hurt most of last year, so if you added him to that deal, you'd probably add a Sixers player back. You're not going to get LeVert, Warren, and Sabonis for Ben Simmons. Maybe you could ship back I don't know. Would you send Seth Curry in that deal?
No.
Is that too much?
I like him too much.
He's
to
a
give
sniper, man. He can really, really shoot. Let's go one more here from Marquise. What's up, Chase, Harrison? Michael Renz. Hey, Mitch, did you change your name to Michael? Apparently, it's Mitch Marquise. Tom Downey, the rest of the crew, appreciate you. See the Lakers being in the I got the first seed. I don't know what that means. I guess,
what seed do you think the Lakers are going to get is what he's trying to ask.
Oh, you're saying you are saying they're going to be the one seed. I still think they're the favorite to be the one seed in the West.
They're
but
old, though.
We're going to talk about Russell Westbrook here in, 20 minutes or so? Something like that. And, man, it's one game in. It's not looking great, but it is only one game. So we will explore that. But for now, we got to jump into some college football, actually. Remember, peep the bottom of the screen. We'll flash that ticker from time to time, and you guys can figure out what we're jumping into next. Lakers talking about 15 minutes, but first, Ed Orgeron, he's out after this season at LSU, so a fresh LSU hot board, 10 candidates to replace him. College Football Now here on Any Given Thursday is presented by Manscaped. I am Harrison Graham. He is Chase Sr. If you want to get 20% off the best men's grooming products out there, like Ed Orgeron at LSU, you know he's rolling with Manscaped. The real ones know. 20% off at manscaped.com/chat. Those blondies are well aware of Ed Orgeron going to Manscaped. In all seriousness, let's talk Eddie O and LSU, Chase. Ed Orgeron and LSU coming to an agreement that they will agree to part ways after this season. The LSU AD, Scott Woodward, says the coaching search is underway for 2022, and now you got two of maybe the 10 or at least 15 best coaching jobs in the country available in USC and now, of course, LSU. And last week, Chase, we did a candidate's replacement video for Ed Orgeron because he was on the hot seat. Well, now the seat is just evaporated because he is no longer going to be the head coach. They're going to let him finish out this year because, you know, they're doing right by him. He won a national title a couple of years ago, but they will be hiring a new head coach for next season.
What a fast fall for Ed Orgeron. 2019, he coaches and leads one of the most talented college football teams we've ever seen on a brutal schedule in which they go undefeated. They have Joe Burrow win the Heisman Trophy. That goes down as one of the most elite, if not the most elite college football teams of all time.
Yes.
And a couple of short years later, he's out at LSU, and it's crazy how everything has transpired over time because this is a classic example of a guy who reached the peak of his profession. He won the ultimate prize, which is a national championship, and it seems like, according to some of the reports coming out all week, that he won the Natty, and he was like, you know what? I'm all good. I'm out. I'm dipping. He didn't even really thoroughly interview some of the candidates that he hired to take place of Dave Aranda as well as Joe Brady, which is really, really weird. He decided to divorce his wife shortly after winning the national championship, then was bringing random women and their kids to the LSU practices and letting them partake in drills, and now he's going to get his whole buyout from LSU. So Eddie O going to be sitting pretty, and you know what I think his next move is, Harrison? Media. Because there are a lot of media companies who are going to pay him big-time bucks, but the big question remains, who is LSU going to pay big bucks to replace Eddie O? Crazy downfall.
If you're watching Coach O, hit us up in the DMs, at HGrahamNFL, at Chase_Senior. Great personality, but yeah, he got a little loose with how he was running that program after winning that national title. But hey, he's got 17 million reasons to feel just fine. Who should be the next coach at LSU? We'll make this the pinned comment on today's video, so go ahead and scroll on down and get your votes in on who you think will replace Ed Orgeron. All right, I had to include Dabo Swinney at number 10. Of course, the head coach at Clemson, Chase, and naturally he was asked about this, right? All high-profile coaches are being asked, oh, what about LSU? What about this? What about that? Let's just get to the quote, and then we'll kind of react to this here. I'm a big-time coach. Wow. I made a big-time list. Wow. Yeah, this is the only Death Valley I'm concerned about right here. That's for sure. So Dabo shooting this down pretty strongly, but if I have learned anything over the years in watching college football, covering this sport, and just really being tapped into everything that's going on, never fully believe coaches, especially high-profile ones. Would I bet on Dabo Swinney to go take that job? No. But if LSU calls and is like, we'll give you a 10-year, $100 million fully guaranteed contract and you can do whatever you want with your coaching staff, you don't think he's at least listening to that?
Have to.
Especially with the type of year Clemson is having. If he's ever going to leave, this might be the time. Again, I'm not predicting it. I don't think it's going to happen, but you can't rule it out. You can never rule it out with these coaches because money always talks.
And there are countless examples of why you can't trust coaches when it comes to these openings and them denying it, because so many times and so often they end up leaving those aforementioned gigs for that new opportunity. And I always kind of crack up at how fan bases rip apart coaching candidates for leaving for a better job, because at the end of the day, it is a job, and we as humans are always intrigued by promotions. You might be happy in your current job right now and really be flourishing within that job title thanks to a great employer, but if another company comes along and says, Chase, we're going to double your salary, you're going to have an opportunity to have even more success, you're going to be in a hotbed recruiting state in the state of Louisiana where you can pluck all of these players from all over the place and compete with the likes of Alabama, your alma mater, come on over to LSU into the real Death Valley and start winning these national championships on a more consistent basis and leave Clemson now that it's down in the dumps and take over for Eddie O, be an all-time hero, an all-time legend, and have a better job, make more money with a better opportunity at hand.
The point we're making is you can't ever rule it out with
Don't
these
ever
guys.
trust
I've
coaches.
seen it too many times. So Dabo's at number 10, but hey, things could change over the next couple of weeks. All right, at number 9, Dave Aranda. Listen, he ran Ed Orgeron's defense, and let's be honest. Once he left for Baylor, that defense became not just one of the worst in the SEC.
Bo Pelini hire was brutal.
One of the worst in the Power 5.
Yes.
I mean, they beat Florida last week. They also gave up 42 points. I
Yeah.
mean, this defense has been a joke the past 2 years at LSU. Dave Aranda's a good defensive mind. I think he could get a good OC in there. And what he's doing at Baylor is pretty damn impressive. First year at Baylor after Matt Rule left, kind of a transition year. Things didn't go that well. But in year 2, he's got them in the top 25. They're in the mix to get to the Big 12 championship game. And if he goes 8-4, 9-3 in his second year at Baylor, that's pretty damn impressive stuff. And I wouldn't have him super high on my list, but he's certainly a candidate worth considering because he has connections to the program, just being a part of that national title staff in 2019. Luke Fickell at number 8, Chase. I think we're in agreement.
He's going to be in the mix for all these openings.
And I think we're in agreement USC makes more sense because of the AD connection, but if you're not at least getting in touch with Luke Fickell as a major college football, not a franchise, but university, to at least interview the guy, I think you're making a mistake. I think Cincinnati has a really good chance of making the college football playoff this year.
Yeah, there's that Luke Fickell-Mike Bone relationship because Mike Bone, now the AD at USC, did hire Luke Fickell at Cincinnati. And I don't think we're like prisoners of the moment now because this Cincinnati run has been going on for a little
It's
while
not a fluke
here.
at this point.
It's not a fluke. This team is legit. They play excellent defense, which I think could bode well for LSU, especially considering how bad they've been defensively over the last couple of years. And Luke Fickell has shown the ability to, one, target recruits, but almost most importantly, develop players over time. And if you can get a guy like that in the head coaching position at LSU who can recruit in a state that is littered with a bunch of great recruiters, but also develop talent, which is what Ed Orgeron's staff has not done the last couple of years, that's a win-win proposition.
Yeah, and hey, you want a not-so-hot take? If Cincinnati was already in the Big 12 this year, they might win the conference. Now, Oklahoma with Caleb Williams is damn good, but Cincinnati at worst would be the second best team in the Big 12 this
I think
year.
they should be in the college football playoff if they finish the year
They
undefeated.
definitely have a very good argument. Manscaped, hey, there's no doubt it's the best men's grooming products on the market. We joked, but let's be honest. Ed Orgeron
How do you think Eddie O is dating ladies half his age?
Part of it's that accent. The other part, he's going to Manscaped. Let's be honest. Get 20% off the Lawnmower 4.0
I need the accent,
at manscaped.com/chat. Man, I love going to Manscaped. Joe Burrow told me about this product, and man, whoa, got that Lawnmower 4.0. Go Tigers. National Championship. Roll Tide. Fuck you. Roll Tide. Manscaped.com/chat. Get 20% off plus free shipping. They've got all kinds of men's grooming products, but hey, this is going to keep your balls area nice and clean, nice and tidy. And hey, if you're like Coach O and you're a single man out there, going to be getting all the ladies if you head over to Manscaped. All right, Oregon. Mario Cristobal at number 7. Bruce Feldman released a list, and he's typically pretty tied into this stuff, Chase. He had Cristobal on his list. He's done really well at Oregon. I think USC makes more sense.
So do I.
But I think he's worthy of at least interviewing. I got him at number 7.
With the job that he's done at Oregon, of course he's worth an interview. I just think Mario Cristobal makes more sense for the USC gig because he has connections in that Los Angeles area.
Recruiting.
One of the big reasons that Oregon has become a powerhouse again, because they weren't after Chip Kelly under Mario Cristobal, he's gone into the Los Angeles area and he's been able to steal a lot of recruits from the USC stomping ground. So that's one thing that Mario Cristobal has working in his advantage. I just don't know how he would play in Death Valley, in Louisiana, opposite recruiting area, going to LSU. I think he makes a lot more sense to USC than he does for LSU.
Joe Brady at number 6, I would have him higher, but there's really been no buzz around him for LSU, which surprises me, but it tells me one of two things. One, they want to go away from the 2019 staff. They want to go in a new direction. Or two, they're being told that Brady's staying in the NFL.
Yeah.
And that's very much a possibility.
I think he will, yeah.
Joe Brady will probably have some opportunities to be an NFL head coach, if not in this cycle, in the very near future. And maybe him and his agent basically said, hey, thanks, but no thanks. We're going to stick in the NFL, worry about running the Panthers offense, and then hopefully getting a head coaching job up here. And that very may well be the case. But if you don't at least call him, you're not doing your job. It's possible that's already happened. It's possible that they've already reached out and he's passed the word that he's not interested in the LSU opening at this time. But I've got him at number 6 because the work he did with that offense in 2019 and with Joe Burrow is one of the most transcendent, performances we've ever seen. I mean, he took a fringe draft quarterback and made him the number 1 pick. Mm-hmm. That's some of the finer coaching work we've ever seen, especially in the last 20 years. Who's the better option? Because these were the 2 coordinators. Joe Brady was technically the passing game coordinator, but he made all the difference. Dave Aranda, Joe Brady on that 2019 LSU staff. Who would you rather target? Type JB for Joe Brady, type DA for Dave Aranda. I think in modern college football, I'm going offense in most cases, so I would type my JB, but 2 worthy candidates. Go ahead and get your votes in. All right, we'll get into the top 5 here. Mark Stoops, a name that Feldman mentioned as well. We had him a little lower last week. I know they lost to Georgia last week, but what he's doing with Kentucky, Chase, has been impressive, and I think you would agree. We watched most of that game. He had them fighting and scrapping and hanging around against a just more talented team for about 3 quarters. Then, of course, Georgia pulled away.
Yeah, you and I were watching that game in Norman, Oklahoma, right before we saw Caleb Williams just go off against your alma mater in TCU. Caleb Williams, a stud, great time watching Oklahoma football. But something that you and I were discussing as we were watching that game, there was such a wide difference between what Arkansas looked like against Georgia and what Kentucky looked like against Georgia. And I thought that was pretty telling. They were so much more competitive. They seemed to have a much clearer plan against Georgia. And Georgia's been a buzzsaw this year. Everybody's been getting annihilated by them. But for Kentucky to go step for step for them and also beat Florida earlier this year, I like what Mark Stoops is doing at Kentucky. I just don't know if he has the recruiting pool that some of these other guys do.
Now, he's never been at a power program, so is that part of that?
Yeah.
Maybe. We know he can develop.
Sometimes you just got to stick with where you're at.
He can develop players.
Yeah.
I mean, he's turned 3 stars into NFL guys for several years now, but that is a different animal at LSU. We'll get into the top 4 in just a second, but make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button. The first batch of college football playoff rankings come out here in 2 or 3 weeks, so that'll be fascinating.
Yep.
We will cover that. And, of course, as more jobs open up, we will continue to break that down as well. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. More college football videos if you guys subscribe. Okay, Jimbo Fisher at number 4. I kind of struggle where to put him right now because, I'm happy at A&M. I've got ranches down here. I'm not leaving. Again, it goes back to the Dabo thing. That's very similar to what he said at Florida State. And then Texas A&M is like, hey, how about 10 years and $75 million fully guaranteed? And by the way, after year 3, when you go to a New Year's Six Bowl, we'll give you a raise up to $9 million a year. Yeah, LSU, if they come in here and offer him more than Nick Saban is making at Alabama, you're telling me he's not listening? You're telling me he's not going to reevaluate his situation? Now, it's a tricky time if you're LSU to try to get Jimbo. They're coming off a great season. He just beat A&M this year, or he just beat Alabama this year as well.
Calzada going
with
off.
Zach Calzada, who wasn't even his projected starter. So I do think he's kind of got it rolling at Texas A&M, but dude, LSU's a better job. If they're like, we'll give you $100 million guaranteed, you're telling me he ain't interested? I just refuse to believe what he says. Now, he might believe it in the moment, but he hasn't talked to LSU directly yet. Things can change very quickly.
Yeah, no question about that. I think Jimbo is going to stay put in College Station because he has that program rolling with some momentum. I mean, last year they lose 1 game, and it was to Alabama. The next year they come back, they beat Alabama. So I think it's wise for Jimbo to stay put. But again, as we mentioned off the top, Harrison, you can never trust college coaches. Can't do it.
Speaking of these two, because I think these are 2 of the top 5 or 10 coaches in the country, who's the better one? Type JF for Jimbo Fisher, type DS for Dabo Swinney. 2 of only, I think, 4 or 5 active coaches with the national championship. Get your votes in down in the comments, JF or DS. Okay, top 3. James Franklin, Penn State. Colin Cowherd said on Wednesday that he believes Franklin wants the USC job, so it could come down to staying at Penn State or going out to Southern Cal, but Feldman mentioned Franklin for the LSU job as well. He's certainly going to be in the mix there. I think LSU is a better job than USC overall, so I've got him at number 3.
We keep going back to this, but two of the most important qualities in a college head coach that's at a high level is recruiting. James Franklin's doing that. He has the number 1 recruiting class in the class of 22, and developing players. And maybe there aren't many coaches out there better than James Franklin of developing talent at the college level than him. The last several years, they've been producing a lot of high-level professional talent. Now, what you have to keep an eye on here with James Franklin, he's making $8.5 million at Penn State. That's a lot of money. LSU can offer more than that. But if Penn State goes on to defeat Ohio State on Halloween weekend, they defeat Michigan, and they really run the table here, make it into the Big Ten championship game, and maybe even make it into the college football playoff, that's when these rumors, I think, will start to pick up more momentum, because if James Franklin gets Penn State in the college football playoff, you look at it in two ways. You got to stay at Penn State because of how many strides and how much progress you made with that program.
There and you're going to leave.
Yeah, you finally get there, you're going to leave now, or he uses that as leverage to then land that job at LSU, which is probably one of the top 3 to 5 openings in college football.
Or he gets a raise out of it, one of the two. Okay, top 2. Lane Kiffin, number 2. I know this is your guy, Chase. You can't help but respect the way he's been able to reshape his image over the past 3 or 4 years. He humbles himself, goes and runs the offense at Alabama under Nick Saban. He humbles himself even more by taking the Florida Atlantic job and winning 10 games twice in 3 seasons. That program was dead, and now he's got it cooking at Ole Miss. I mean, they're 5-6-1 or whatever this year, 5-1, 6-1. Just came off an emotional win at Tennessee. I thought he handled that all very professionally for the most part. By the way, he could have really reacted differently with getting golf balls thrown at him. He goes in there, beats them. He's beaten Arkansas this year. The only team he's lost to is Alabama, and quite frankly, I don't mind your take that you think that they should go ahead and just hire Lane Kiffin.
I'm all in on Lane Kiffin if I'm LSU. I love him as a play caller, how he blends spread concepts with physical football. I love how he's repaired his image over time. This guy's an offensive mastermind. He's shown the ability to recruit as well. He also has really good hands, catching water bottles, dodging golf balls at Tennessee, at Rocky Top. And I just love what Lane Kiffin brings to the table. He's a big name. He garners a lot of attention. He kind of generates a lot of hype, and I think LSU could really use a guy like Lane Kiffin. Now, I don't know if he wants to be a guy who is just jumping all around the SEC and taking all of these jobs after a couple of years, but again, there might not be a better couple of jobs than LSU and a handful of others out there, so it's definitely a better gig than in Ole Miss.
And he's a QB whisperer. I mean, what he's done with Matt Corral,
unbelievable.
It's been incredible. I mean, that guy's probably going to be a first-round pick now, and he's going to be in New York for the Heisman ceremony as well. Our new number 1, who wasn't even on our radars last week, but Bruce Feldman's reporting it, Cal heard, Joel Klatt, they've heard all the same chatter. Mel Tucker appears to be the focal point of this search, at least at this point, according to numerous reports. The head coach at Michigan State, his rise has been so fast, it's kind of unbelievable. He was on the 2018 Georgia staff. He takes the Colorado job, and although they only went 5-7, the attitude and physicality he brought to that program overnight was pretty tremendous. And then after kind of a bizarre exit in which he says he's staying, but then Michigan State offers more money, so he goes, which that wasn't handled perfectly by him. But he's got Michigan State undefeated and in the top 10 within 2 years. Mark D'Antonio left that program in a pretty bad place, and now he's got them in the mix to win the Big Ten and maybe even go to the college football playoff. They've got a tough schedule ahead of them, but Mel Tucker brings intensity, he brings passion, he brings physicality. He is a no-nonsense type of coach, whereas, let's be honest, Ed Orgeron has let a lot of nonsense happen over the past 2 years here at Chase. Mel Tucker is a true grinder. He's not going to deal with BS, and maybe that's the type of coach they like, and he's got those SEC roots being at Georgia for several years, just a few years ago.
You make very good points, and maybe you can make the argument that Mel Tucker is inexperienced as a head coach. Yeah, maybe you're right there, but his resume, fantastic. assistant coach and coordinator. He's been a part of 2 national championships. He played at Wisconsin, but also he's coached multiple different positions across the defensive side of the football at elite programs, Michigan State, LSU, Ohio State. He was in the pro ranks with the Cleveland Browns, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Chicago Bears. He was at Alabama, Georgia, Colorado, now Michigan State. That resume is stacked.
I want to mention one more thing as well. LSU hired Nick Saban from Michigan State about 25 years ago.
Yep.
They've done this before. That connection is there. Who's to say they wouldn't do it again? So a lot of big names in the mix, and hey, it's LSU. What would you expect? Should they hire Mel Tucker? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Get your votes in down in the comments. We'll get some shout-outs here, and coming up, we'll get back into the NBA. We've got some Lakers stuff to get into, the Dallas Mavericks as well. Remember the Bob Voulgaris fallout? Yeah, he's gone public. He spoke with Pablo Torre of ESPN earlier today, so we'll dive into that as well. But let's get some thoughts on Mel Tucker here. Anthony says Jimbo Fisher, about time JF is underrated. Does anyone think Jimbo Fisher is underrated? I've never heard that be used before.
Yeah,
for Jim.
I don't
if
know
anything,
about
I've heard
underrated.
overrated, but he's definitely not underrated. I don't think that's true. Let's see. Someone says Ole Miss +9 over LSU. Are they really? Surely they're not dogs in that game, right?
I haven't
Ole Miss,
even looked at
LSU?
the college lines yet.
That can't be right. It's
Yeah.
probably -9.
Well, Matt Corral might not play.
Oh,
That's why.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Let's see. Someone's got to get Kiffin away from Ole Miss like they do anytime a Mississippi school gets a good coach. Well, teams don't stay at Mississippi very long for undisclosed reasons. All right, let's get back into the NBA chase here. Let's talk about the Lakers and, Russell Westbrook didn't look good in the opener. We'll talk about that and a little bit more coming up right now. He's Chase Sr. I'm Harrison Graham. Let's get into the latest around the Los Angeles Lakers. After they lost their opener, they get back in action very, very soon. It's a long season, but Chase, Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
And we talked about this when they traded for him on NBA draft night.
Some people ripped us. Some people were with us.
One game in, is there already a Russell Westbrook problem?
This is the Russell Westbrook problem, and the Russell Westbrook dilemma is that you never know what you're going to get on any given night. There are nights when he's going to be breathtaking, he's going to be a superstar, he's going to look great. There are other nights where he's going to play like he did against the Golden State Warriors, where he's making bad decisions, he's chucking up a bunch of really bad shots, and when it comes time for him to perform in crunch time, when he needs to come through, he doesn't, and he makes a lot of mistakes and just doesn't have a great feel for the game. And that's what you saw against the Warriors on opening night. 8 points, 4 of 13 shooting, 0 of 4 from
Plus,
3,
minus.
a minus
Ugh,
23.
God.
Harrison, this is the Russell Westbrook problem, is that he's so reckless while also being breathtaking that you just can't really count on him because you don't know what you're going to get any given night.
I know we're one game into this, and I don't want to be overreaction guy, but I don't think I am. This is his 4th team in 4 seasons.
There's a reason for that.
This should shock nobody, and when it comes down to it, Chase, he cannot be trusted. Russell Westbrook cannot be trusted as a guy in crunch time. Now, can he give you some good minutes and help you get a lead in a basketball game and help you win some games? Sure, he's a top 20 talent in this league. I don't think anybody's disputing that. But in a game like that where you're going back and forth and the Warriors are scoring and LeBron and AD are scoring, and you go out and go 4 of 13, you're turning the ball over and you're minus 23, and you're not only having an off night, you're having a negative impact. Good players have bad games all the time, Chase, but they're still worth having out there because that you pay them $30, $40 million because they might be able to turn it around. There are some games Russ has where I'm watching, I'm like, get him out because it's just bad. Every time he's in the game, he's making a bad decision. He's having a negative impact on the game. It just wasn't good, and I know we're one game in, but this is just the Russell Westbrook experience. It's not good whatsoever, and you don't know what's going to happen.
Everybody come with me and let's take a trip to Six Flags, because the Russell Westbrook experience is like riding a roller coaster. You show up to Six Flags and you see this roller coaster with all these twists and turns, all these corkscrews, and you're like, that looks really, really fun. You watch Russell Westbrook play and you see his athleticism, you see his burst, you see his explosiveness, him running from baseline to baseline, making the plays that he makes. He's so intense. He's got some swag. I love his confidence. I like his competitiveness, and when you watch him, the good is very, very good. The bad is very, very bad. So then you get to that roller coaster, and you have to wait in line for like 90 minutes, and you're missing out on so many opportunities to have a fun-filled day at Six Flags with your friends or family, yet all of that time is being taken up by you just waiting in line. Then you get on that roller coaster, and you're like, parts of it were great. The other parts really weren't that fun at all. That is the Russell Westbrook experience,
the
in a nutshell right there.
Wilson.
The anti-Russell Wilson, who is always accountable and always comes through in crunch time. That's what Russell Westbrook does not do.
I knew this was going to be a disaster when in the preseason he was getting grilled for having too many turnovers, and joking or not from him, he said something along the lines of, y'all better bring that same energy when I drop 20 assists in a night. It's like, dude, you can't handle the criticism in a preseason game.
And he'll do that from time to time,
dude.
just not consistent enough.
Well, he'll have 35 games this year in which he's brilliant. The problem is the other 40 he plays in, he'll be just it's just like your brain goes foggy when you watch him play, because you're like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
That is the Russell Westbrook experience. That is what you can expect. Guys, superstars of this talent don't play on 4 teams in 4 years. It's not a fluke anymore. Like, you can't trust him on a championship caliber team. Like, I would love him to be a solid contributor and to be an under control player and help guide this Lakers team to a title game. I'll tell you what, though, one game in, there's a long way to go here. Like, and LeBron said, hey, this isn't going to happen overnight, and I get all that, and let us know, should they trade or keep Russ, T for trade, K for keep, but I just, we've seen this song and dance now. Like, this, why are we surprised by, oh man, Russ, LeBron, AD, they're going to ball out? Yeah, sometimes they will. Sometimes Westbrook will be a pain in the ass, and that's what he was in the opener.
Yeah, and he's such a maddening player over time, because you just don't know what you're going to get from him any given night. Now, you know you're going to get effort. You know you're going to get competitiveness. You know that he's going to be a cold-blooded killer. But part of what makes him great, which are those aforementioned qualities, also brings him down as a player as well, because he never knows when to slow it down when the game gets slow. He's always trying to go for the kill shot.
He plays at one
Can't
speed.
stand it.
100 miles an hour, and you get him in the half court, he's toast.
Yeah.
BetUS is where you can make money betting on or against the Lakers or in the NFL, Major League Baseball playoffs. You can make money all year round. They are the best sports book in the game. Go to chatsports.com/Lakers for you Laker fans. Promo code Lakers125. You can get that 125% deposit bonus. Do what Chase and I did. Deposit $100. Roll with that $125 in free cash. I'm still floating on a bunch of leftover money from earlier in the NFL season. Chatsports.com/Lakers. Promo code Lakers125. So the question is, could you trade Russ for another player like, dare I say, a Ben Simmons? I know that seems reckless one game in, but I think honestly, stylistically, Simmons would fit better than Westbrook.
What's crazy is that Ben Simmons and Russell Westbrook are two polar opposite players. Russell Westbrook, never afraid to shoot the basketball. Ben Simmons, always afraid to shoot the basketball. But could Ben Simmons be a better fit on the current construction of the Los Angeles Lakers and basically just let everybody else do their work offensively, and all Ben Simmons has to do, rely on his strengths of being a great passer, a guy with excellent premier vision, and a very good creator, another guy who could also give you much better defense than Russell Westbrook,
no
based solely on the positional versatility of his defensive game. We just popped up the numbers for you. Russ is going to give you more points. He might give you more rebounds and more assists, but could Ben Simmons be a more steadying presence than a Russell Westbrook? I think the answer to that question could be yes, Harrison, and here's the deal. This trade could be realistic because their salaries match up pretty evenly.
Yeah, and look, you and I both don't love how Ben Simmons has operated the last several months, but a couple of things are at play here. One, stylistically, I think he actually fits a lot better, and two, LeBron James and Ben Simmons have a good relationship. They're both Rich Paul clients, Clutch Sports, all that good stuff. They've spent some time together in the past in the offseason. LeBron's actually kind of been a mentor to Simmons in the past. They've tweeted a bunch back and forth over the years, and LeBron has spoke highly of him. Now, I don't know how he feels about how he's operated with Philadelphia over the past 4 or 5 months, but at the end of the day, if Philadelphia is desperate enough to get Simmons out, would you bring in Westbrook? I don't know if I would do that if I'm Philadelphia, but maybe a third team could be in play. Again, are they going to trade Westbrook after a game? Of course not. Like, they're going to at least give this a couple months and see how it plays out. But if we see more of the same in this team, what if this team's floating around 500, 25 games in, 30 games in, and Westbrook's not playing well? I mean, I don't know, man. Like, you just get that bad feeling when you watch him play. Like, he's awesome to watch. He's fun. He's explosive, but he just does stuff that makes your skin crawl. He's like that step sibling that just like you're fun to hang out with, but they're always in trouble.
You can't take it.
It's like, dude, like I can't be associated with your behavior. Like, that's who he is. Like, it's just maddening because he's got so much raw ability, but it's kind of crazy that we're 12 years into his career and he still doesn't know how to maximize his talent.
Yeah.
I think that speaks volumes.
That's clear, and what's also clear is that Ben Simmons can't deal with Philadelphia any longer. How would Russell Westbrook be able to deal with Philadelphia? This is a very emotional guy, and I'd actually be fascinated to see how Philadelphia would embrace Russ or not embrace Russ.
Would you like it?
There was a game several years ago when Russ was with OKC playing the Sixers at the Wells Fargo Center, and a Sixers fan gave him the double bird. So I'm not sure how they'd react to having Russell Westbrook in Philadelphia. I would hate the fit. I really would. I just don't think that he would play well alongside Joel Embiid. I know the Sixers need a playmaker, I know the Sixers need a playmaker. I know they need a guy who can make a lot of things happen offensively because Ben Simmons can't do that. I just don't think Russell Westbrook would be a good fit, especially alongside Joel, because Joel, in the guts of the game, doesn't always have the best feel for the game, nor does Russell Westbrook at all. So I would hate it for Philadelphia. These are just two completely different players, and I actually think that Simmons on the Sixers right now would be a better fit than Russell Westbrook.
And the Lakers.
Yeah, well, so I think Simmons would be a better fit right now on the Sixers, and I think Simmons would be a better fit right now on the Lakers than Russell Westbrook. That's the predicament.
It's crazy that Westbrook, it's gone this way over the last several years for him because Ben Simmons is the biggest loser in sports right now, and we're both in agreement that he would fit better with LeBron.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
I agree.
It's just bad, man. There's just no doubt. All right, pick one. Type BS for Ben Simmons. Type RS for Russell. RSRW. Who cares? For Russell Westbrook. Just pick one. Let us know. Who would you rather have in Los Angeles? Go ahead and get your votes in. And make sure you guys subscribe to the channel as well. YouTube.com/LakersTV, our Lakers-only channel. If you're watching live on any given Thursday by Chat Sports, head over there if you're a Lakers fan. Chase and I are pumping out videos all of the time. And obviously, if you're watching on our Lakers channel, well, all you got to do is hit that subscribe button because basketball is back. And we'll keep you guys up to date on the purple and gold all season long. So hit that sub button. All right. BS or Russell Westbrook? RW now. We've got a fix for you guys. I mean, it's crazy to say, but I think it's Ben Simmons, Chase. Like, if you can get his ego and his attitude in check,
man,
I think it's Ben Simmons.
I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm going BS.
And that's just...
And he's been on that BS for a long time, Ben Simmons.
Yeah, this isn't I like Ben Simmons and what he's doing. This is I don't trust Russell Westbrook.
Oh, Clayton Locker. Those Philadelphia fans would skin him alive. Jeez. That's brutal.
Well, that's why Simmons ain't showing up. You think he's going to shoot around tomorrow? No chance.
Yeah, I don't know about that. He might have a back injury that he complains about again, because that's what he complained about today.
Dude, he's a total fraud. He is a total fraud. It's unbelievable. Scotty says Ross, neither from Uno. Maybe that's the answer. Neither. That's probably the way to go. LB for Lonzo Ball. I think the Bulls are happy with that one, no doubt. Someone says Ben is suspended from the NBA. He got suspended for the opener, but the NBA didn't suspend him. It was the 76ers themselves. So appreciate you guys chiming in. A few more segments to go. Let's jump into the Dallas Mavericks. Poker Bob is back. He's gone public with some comments. So let's go ahead and jump on into that right now. Let's talk a little Dallas Mavericks hoops here on any given Thursday. He's Chase Sr. I'm Harrison Graham. Basketball is back, and the Mavs season is underway. But we're going to focus really more away from the court. And remember Poker Bob, Harala Bob Voulgaris? Well, he's gone public, Chase. He did a sit-down interview with Pablo Torre, who hosts the ESPN Daily podcast every morning, Monday through Friday, and spoke on the dysfunction within the Mavs organization with Mr. Pablo Torre. And there's a lot of fascination in here, Chase. So I thought we would just bring this to the show and kind of break it down for you guys. His contract, of course, expired before the season. Cuban actually didn't fire him. They just let the contract run out and didn't bring him back. But let's run through some of these quotes and let's react, because I find this all very fascinating. And if you guys don't remember, this guy was basically an analytics nerd that Mark Cuban hired a few years ago and had a ton of influence on Rick Carlisle's rotations and their draft strategies. So here you go. I never actually wanted to be the guy in charge until it became clear that the guy in charge, that being Donnie Nelson, didn't want me around. But when it became personal, then the competitive part of me started to kind of kick in. Oh, the guy wants me out of here? It never became obvious that he wanted me out of there. You can just read between the lines a little bit. You can kind of see, and just to be clear, the first 2 years or whatever, Donnie was very pleasant around me when I was there. It's just you hear certain things, you learn certain things, you've been told certain things. It was a very gossipy workplace, very gossipy. I didn't have a working relationship with other people in the front office at all, to the point where it was awkward. But that's kind of the MO of the way that front office was run. Surround yourself with people who are not threats. You don't become an NBA general manager and hold your job for that long unless you are very, very good at keeping your job. So he's basically saying that there was dysfunction, that he felt indirectly threatened by Donnie Nelson's presence from times, which I don't like when people do this, Chase, when things don't work out, and then they say, you know what, I've got nothing to lose, so I'm just going to go public and just start gossiping. You want to talk about gossip, Poker Bob? Well, what are you doing now? This is the definition of gossip. When this story was over, no one cared about it anymore. So let's ask you this, and then I want to get some of your input on this, Chase. Do you believe Bob Voulgaris and what he's saying? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I'm sure there's some truth to it, because you don't get that athletic bombshell report unless there is some truth to everything that went down. Let us know what you guys think with a Y or an N.
I think there's some truth to it just because of the lack of success that the Mavericks have had as an organization. And you think about Mark Cuban, right? Shark Tank, great business investor,
innovative.
Won a championship in 2011 with the Dallas Mavericks, very innovative, very progressive, a very, very intelligent guy. But I talk about that championship that the Mavericks won back in 2011. Harrison, that was a decade ago.
Yes.
And the Mavericks since then have not won a single playoff series. So I'm not sure if what Poker Bob said is for real. I do know this. Mark Cuban has to get his shit together, and he has to get this organization on track. There's no reason that in a top 6 market, the Mavericks should be failing to live up to expectations on a yearly basis.
Haven't won a playoff series
and
since
not
then.
winning a playoff series in an entire decade. You had Dirk Nowitzki, you had some playoff no-shows with him, you finally break through, but since then, you haven't been able to capitalize on that momentum, and now you have a player in Luka Doncic who's put up similar numbers to LeBron James his first 3 years of his career, yet you still can't find a win a playoff series. So again, I'm not sure if what Bob Voulgaris said is true, but there has to be some level of dysfunction within this organization, because well-run businesses have success. Well-run businesses can be sustainable. Well-run businesses don't let stuff like this happen or reports like this get out there. And that's what's happened with the Dallas Mavericks. I'm not going to go as far as to say they've been a circus, but they've been like a minor league circus for a bit now.
I mean, just the report from 4 or 5 months ago, and you're like, this analytics nerd was
impacting
playoff or rotations, and then Luka's going to the sidelines. Who's in charge, Rick or Poker Bob? The whole thing is very, very strange. I know this. I'm glad that Voulgaris is out of there. Quite frankly, I'm kind of glad Carlisle's gone too. It seemed time to just go in a totally new direction. I think this team is re-energized under Jason Kidd. Kristaps Porzingis seems re-engaged, which I think that was priority number one this offseason. If you weren't going to trade him, you had to get KP back in the saddle, and it appears that that has been the case, at least going into this year, which is a very, very good sign. But man, I would love to watch a mini documentary on the last couple of years of the Dallas Mavericks and who truly was running things, because it's very, very fascinating to see how this is all played out. More from Poker Bob in a minute, but first, BetUS, the best sportsbook partner in the game, and you Mavs fans, we got a promo code for you. Go to chatsports.com/MFFL. Promo code MFFL if you want to bet on the Mavs, if you want to bet on the NBA. How about this? Go bet on the Dallas Cowboys. They're 6-0 against the spread this year. I know you MFFLs are big Cowboys fans as well. Put down $100. They'll give you $125 for free with that promo code MFFL. Put your money where your mouth is and make some money by betting on sports. All right, more from Vulgaris here with Pablo Torre. Quote, Nelson is more of like a wheeler dealer. Like when you shake his hand, you want to make sure your rings are still there. Not in a bad way, which... What do you mean, not in a bad way?
What the hell does that mean?
It's not bad that he might steal your, $500 wedding ring, but he's that guy. He's a deal maker. He's a broker. He also said this: my working relationship with Donnie Nelson was seeing him every once in a while, getting a fist bump. That was it. Whether it was a fist bump text message or a fist bump in person, that was his thing. He was nice and cordial to my face, but I think threatened by me. So... all these statements are basically the same. Number one, he's a total fraud, Chase. Let's just get that out there. He had no credentials to get this job whatsoever, and that's on Mark Cuban at the end of the day. That goes back to what you said. He needs to get his shit together. That's number one. Number two, all these statements to Torre are basically... he throws slime on someone, and then he kind of backs off it by saying, oh, he was cordial with me, but, he's a steal your ring type of guy, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
The whole thing
We're
is
all
like,
over the place.
hey, here's a fastball to the head, but duck at the last second so it doesn't hit you. That's kind of what it is with these statements. I think, you know what I think? I think he's got nothing to lose. I think he knows that there's a good chance a front office is never going to hire him again, regardless if he's tweeting on his couch about the NBA on opening night like he was. I think he's like, fuck it, man. I'm just going to give my side of things because I was a nobody before this Mavs gig, and I'm a nobody now, so I'm just going to get what I feel off my chest and go from there. And clearly that's what he's done here, and it's all very bizarre at the end of the day. I don't really get it whatsoever. But hey, that's what you get here at Dallas Mavericks Today. We're breaking down everything around this team, even Poker Bob going nuclear on last season, youtube.com/MavsTV. Don't worry, we'll talk some real hoops throughout the season as well. Just thought this was an interesting interview that he conducted. Subscribe, more videos from me and Chase Sr. throughout the NBA season. All right, a couple more quotes here. We'll give some more thoughts, then we'll wrap this thing up. Quote, this is on Luka, his relationship there. If I'm distracting that effing guy, I don't need to be around. Whatever the case may be, no matter how I see it, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. He is the fulcrum of the team, so I was like, cool. Plus, I was trying to find a way out of this job to begin with. Yeah. Imagine finding a way out of a job in an NBA front office. Like, yeah, Bob, get the hell out of Luka's way. How about that? Yeah, cool. Get the fuck out. That's what I have to say, and that's where you are now. You're at home tweeting from your couch about the Indiana Pacers and their high-volume three-point shooting. Yeah, go watch Rick Carlisle and the Pacers this year try to battle for the 8 seed in the Eastern Conference. Like, this guy wears me out. I think guys are losers when they go public and do interviews like this after, like, months after the fact. You see this all the time in sports and politics and, and big news stories, well after the fact. That's all he's doing here. He's trying to get back in the headlines, and guess what? It worked because we're talking about it.
Yeah, sometimes in life, you meet people, and you're like, you know what? There are people you trust and people you don't trust. I think Poker Bob is a guy who you just don't really want to hang out with.
That's why his nickname is Poker Bob.
That's exactly right. You can never really trust people who you're playing poker against because they're trying to snatch your money. And for Poker Bob, I think he was trying to snatch a lot of power. It didn't work out, and he elected to then just go nuclear. I really just don't understand it.
It's all very strange.
And, he's had like these Bill Simmons connections for a while. maybe Bill Simmons got him hooked up with Pablo Torre, and he's like, you know what, I got to speak on this Dallas Mavericks dysfunction. That's what it is. I just don't see how this helps anybody.
And I will say, my final thoughts here, yeah, Bob's a loser. I think you made a good point at the beginning, though. Like, a lot of this is on Cuban. Like, this guy should have never had a job to begin with. The fact that he got any power at all in terms of who to draft and who to play in certain rotations in certain situations, I think that's a big problem. Luckily, he's out of the way now, and Jason Kidd is in charge. What percent of the Mavs' issues were caused by Poker Bob the last couple of years? Let us know in the comments. I'm not going to sit here and say it was like 90% or something like that, but I'd say it's at least 30. I mean, when Luka is going to the sidelines at a key timeout and saying, who's in charge, you or Rick, that's a bit of a problem. So let us know. Throw a number out there. What percent of problems were caused by Poker Bob? What do you guys think, MFFLs? Throw a number, Chase. 20%? 25?
I like 20, 25.
That's still too many.
Clayton Lockert saying he's subscribed. Alizé Penn saying he's subscribed too. For those of you watching right now, if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button.
Exactly, man. Appreciate you guys rolling with us. A couple more segments to go here in just a moment. Clayton Lockhart giving us the thumbs up too. Like the video if you guys haven't already. We'll get to a couple of comments here. Clayton says, settle an argument and save 50-plus a 50-year friendship. Okay, here we go. I say Robert Horry in 7 rings was better. My friend says Charles Barkley had the better career. What say you? The lines are drawn in the sand. Clayton, you're not going to like my answer. Barkley had a better career, and it really isn't close. Charles Barkley, Chase, might be a top 50 player of all time.
Oh, he is a top 50 player of all time. There's no question about that.
I mean, Horry is one of the great role players of all time and one of the great clutch role players of all time, but that's what it is, a role player.
Robert Horry, yes, the rings are great, but he wasn't a better pure basketball player than Charles
Now, they
Barkley.
called him Big Shot Bob for a reason, not Poker Bob, Big Shot Bob, but I mean, he averaged like 10 points in his career. So, yeah, it's clearly Barkley. You're not going to like it, but that's the answer. Hopefully your 50-year friendship isn't ruined. 30 racks. Can I add on to Ben to Indiana again? Oh, we talked about this one earlier. TJ Warren. I mean, I love TJ Warren in the bubble. He was dropping 50 pieces left and right. But, sure, if you want to swap him with LeVert, go for it. Couple more here. Raheem Sports. I know it's late, but can you all name the top 15 free agents left? Oh, man. Is Boogie Cousins still out there? I think he is. Isaiah Thomas. I mean, you're getting really in the weeds here.
Yeah, that's low-level players.
Who's the guy the Warriors cut? Jordan Bell. I guess he's floating around out there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of big names. I mean, Boogie Cousins is the biggest name, but there's no real impact players left.
No.
T4K, what team would shock you by not making the playoffs? What's a team that should make the playoffs, but you could see a scenario that they won't, and that would be a bit surprising? Maybe the Bulls?
The Bulls.
A lot of expectations. Maybe they're not quite ready. I think that's one that could make sense.
The Blazers.
Perhaps.
The Knicks.
Yeah.
In a loaded East.
See, the Blazers wouldn't surprise me.
The Sixers,
though.
if they just have a disastrous season.
The Blazers wouldn't surprise me in the West if they miss the playoffs. West is loaded, and there's a lot of question marks there. So those are some good names, though, and hey, appreciate the questions and you guys' interaction throughout today's live show of Any Given Thursday. Let's talk Washington State football because they're looking for a brand new head coach. It's Any Given Thursday, Harrison Graham and Chase Sr. But first, we got to shout out our presenting sponsor. That is Magic Spoon cereal, high in protein, low in carbs, sugar-free cereal. Yes, that is 0 grams of sugar. Tons of different flavors. You see the link on screen, magicspoon.com/chat. Grab a box, grab 4 boxes. Make sure you take advantage of the best cereal out there. All right, Chase. So Washington State looking for a new head coach.
Yep.
Nick Rolovich and 4 assistants fired for cause because the state of Washington implemented that all federal and state employees, which applies to working for a public university, must be vaccinated by, I believe, it was October 15th, I believe, somewhere in the last
week. Yeah.
Somewhere this week, depending on when you're watching, mid-October. And Rolovich and his assistants did not comply, so Wazoo decided to fire him and 4 assistant coaches, which, we're not going to get into the whether that was the right move or not. But at the end of the day, they need a head coach starting for next year. Their defensive coordinator is going to be the interim for the rest of the season, and now Wazoo needs a new head coach for the second time in 3 years because Mike Leach left for Mississippi State just a couple of years ago. And Washington State is one of those interesting jobs, Chase, where if you get the right coach in there like Mike Leach, you can have some success, especially in the Pac-12. So we'll take a look at 10 candidates that could replace Leach, or Leach. They should bring Leach back if they can. Not going to happen. But how about this? We're not going to give hardcore opinions, but we'll let you guys decide. Was firing Nick Rolovich the right call? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. Get your votes in down in the comments. Was it a mistake? Was it the right move? Just give us a simple Y or N. All right, Chase, we'll go through these candidates. And I did a deep dive here because, when you're Wazoo, you're not going to be getting a Dabo.
It's
you're
not
gonna
LSU
be getting,
or USC.
No, you're diving really, really deep here. So let's start with the interim, right? Jake Dicker, who's the defensive coordinator, he now takes over. And weirdly enough, with all this going on, Chase, if the season ended today, Wazoo would be in the Pac-12 title game. Yeah. They have the tiebreakers in the Pac-12 North. So if he can rally the troops with an undermanned coaching staff, that would speak volumes if they could find a way to get to the Pac-12 title game.
And here's the deal. Is Washington State in this opening among the likes of LSU and USC? No, it's not even close. But this is for sure, and I thought you made a good point earlier when you said when you get the right guy, you can have a lot of success with that program. They were rolling with Mike Leach, and they were competing year in and year out.
Wins a year.
And in the Pac-12, with the unsure future of USC, Washington State could end up playing pretty well in the Pac-12. And that head coach that you do hire is able to have a lot of success because the Pac-12, let's be honest, is wide open.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Brian Lindgren, a name who has caught some eyes. Oregon State, he's their offensive coordinator, has really woken up the past couple of years, Chase. Bruce Feldman dropped his name as a possible fit for this job. A lot of these names are guys that Feldman has mentioned, and he's really tapped into all this stuff, especially these lower-tier programs. He knows better than anyone. Oregon State, we've been betting college football all year. They've really surprised some people the last couple of years.
Yeah.
That offense has been rolling pretty well. Jake Luton, who was the quarterback there a couple of years ago, comes out of nowhere, has a big-time year, and lands in the NFL, first with the Jags and now with the Seattle Seahawks. Lots to do with what Lindgren has done at Oregon State calling plays. He's got a bright future. He's kind of been ascending quickly in the college coaching ranks. I think if you're Washington State, getting a guy like that can move the football offensively, which is what they tried to do with Rolovich to replace Mike Leach, who had it rolling offensively with guys like Gardner Minshew in the past. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that could be a potential fit as well. Not a big name, but hey, it's Washington State. There's not going to be a lot of big names in the mix for this job. How about this? Simple question. Is Washington State a good job? Type G for good, B for bad. It's probably somewhere in between, D for decent, if you will, but it is a Power 5 job, and Mike Leach has proven you can win at a decent rate there. Okay, how about this name, Chase? And San Jose State, as you know, they went undefeated last year in a shortened season. Brent Brennan is only 18-34 there, but he had to resurrect that program, and it took a couple of 2-10 clunkers and 3-9s early on, but he's 10-5 the last 2 years, had a great year last year. Loses Nick Starkel, his quarterback this year, who was led the team to be an undefeated record a year ago. But he's done a good job. It's a West Coast type of guy. Could be a potential fit here.
Yeah, and what Washington State has to do here, don't be scared away by candidates who could be at Washington State at Wazoo for a little while and then dip on out of there to take a premier Power 5
That's
job.
What you want.
You want that.
Yes.
And so many times programs have made that mistake of shying away from those candidates because they're like, oh, we want a guy who's going to be here for a little while. No. Make the splash hire because those hires will put you on the map, keep you consistent, and help you compete for conference championship games. That's why I feel highly about a lot of these candidates, and that's why I think Wazoo should go after these guys, even if they're not going to be in Washington State for a long time.
A guy that could fit into that category, a little bit older, but Jay Norvell, who's been around for a while, has done pretty good work at Nevada, has a quarterback who's going to be drafted probably in the top 100 in Carson Strong. If you're Washington State, to your point there, Chase, you want your coaches leaving every 5 years because that means you're winning a lot of football games.
Yeah.
You have to understand where you are in the college football pecking order. Very few non-blue blood programs become that. Like, what Dabo has done at Clemson is not normal. Like, that is the exception to the norm. Like, that does not happen where you get a coach that comes in here, makes you a powerhouse, and actually stays for an extended period of time. Like, the fact that you had Mike Leach for 8 years is awesome.
Yeah.
And for him to leave for the SEC, it's like, hey, man, appreciate your work here, and it was fun while we had you. Hopefully the next coach can keep it rolling. And, we'll never know how it would have played out with Nick Rolovich, but you got to flush that situation and move on here. So I think a lot of these guys on this list are guys that are either young guys on the rise or older guys that can stabilize things as you try to kind of transition beyond the Rolovich era, which obviously did not work out in the way that you had hoped. So we'll see how it ends up playing out. But if you don't recognize some of these names, that's okay. That's why we're here to inform you just where they come from. Magic Spoon's a brand you guys should be very well aware of because it's really the best cereal on the market these days. It's really that simple because it's high in protein and it's got 0 grams of sugar. Chase, we talk about it all the time. They have mastered delicious cereal that's actually healthy. Usually you get one or the other. With Magic Spoon, you get both.
Yeah, those traditional brands, they're loaded with so much sugar and so many carbs that you're basically just taking down bowls of sugar. There's no nutrition within that. But with Magic Spoon, 13 to 14 grams of protein, 4 grams of net carbs, 0 grams of sugar, and all of the flavors are really good. Peanut butter, cocoa, fruity, frosted. They come out with these specialty flavors from time to time. Maple, waffle, as well as cinnamon. You got to hop on board the Magic Spoon train. It is a no-brainer. MagicSpoon.com/chat. That will allow you to get $5 off. That link in the description as well as the comment section.
And I've had a couple people come to me and be like, man, I can't find Magic Spoon at the store anywhere. That's because it's not there.
It's not there.
You have to order it online.
Exactly.
That's why we're giving you $5 off with our link, MagicSpoon.com/chat. We're putting it in the live chat. Of course, will be in the live in the description and in the comments as well. Okay, we get to number 6 here. Jim McElwain. This is a name you know very well, Chase. Obviously, things did not work out at Florida for him, but when he's been at these lower type of programs, Colorado State, now Central Michigan, where he doesn't have the spotlight on him, he's actually done pretty damn well. He's 14-12 at Central Michigan in 3 years, which isn't great. It's Central Michigan, though. He's above 500. He knows how to maximize these 2- and 3-star type of players, and that's really what you're going to be working with at Washington State.
And when you take coaches from those mid-level to low-level programs, they really have to do a great job of just mastering X's and O's, mastering scheme, and bringing the best out of players. And that's kind of been the formula for success for Mike Leach and other people who have taken these openings like a Washington State. They just maximize everybody who's there. And that's another reason why I like some of the names on this list is that I think they can take some of what they've done at their respective programs and have that translate over to Wazoo.
So that's 10 through 6. We'll get into the top 5 here in just a moment. How about Graham Harrell? I think he's kind of caught okay, what does my future look like? Because USC is not going to run with this interim staff. Let's be honest. Things have not been stabilized since they fired Clay Helton. So I think Graham Harrell is going to find himself in one or two positions. Number one, he's going to try and land another pretty solid OC gig somewhere at a program better than Washington State. Or could he be in the mix for a job like that? Could he get the Washington State head coaching job? Played under Mike Leach at Texas Tech. He is in that category of Mike Leach disciples. He runs that air raid offense that fan base loved when Mike Leach was there. And Graham Harrell, while things have gone a little awry at USC, I think a lot of that's been out of his control. I still think he's a promising young offensive mind in this business. He's in his early 30s. He played at the highest level in college football at Texas Tech, leading them to their best season ever. I'm intrigued by it. He's cooled off a bit, but he's been on the West Coast for a few years now, and I think this could be very, very interesting, Chase.
Yeah, can he reclaim that magic? Can he reclaim some of that momentum? Look, when he was looked at as a guy who was getting interviewed for potential quarterback coaches and offensive coordinator openings at the NFL level, the Philadelphia Eagles
they tried to get him to Texas
were interested in him for a long time. Doug Peterson wanted him to be the OC, but because Peterson was calling plays and not Harrell, that's why he stayed at USC. I have confidence that he can come back.
Should Wazoo, Washington State for you guys who don't know, hire a Mike Leach disciple? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. I wouldn't mind it because if you're Washington State, you want to put butts in the seats, and scoring a lot of points will help you do that. All right, top 4. How about Kalen DeBoer, who we've watched Fresno a few times this year, Chase? He's got those boys playing competitively, has for the last couple of years. I like him quite a bit. This might be my favorite name on this list. That feels like natural progression where you go from a pretty solid G5 program, you get a crack at the Power 5. I think that could be an opportunity here for DeBoer and what he's done with a guy like Jake Haener maximizing his talents at Fresno State.
I like it on top of what you said because of this. It's a similar region. It's a similar pocket in America. So similar recruiting territory. For him to go out there and land a guy like Jake Haener, who I think has been the most impressive, maybe, quarterback across the entire country this year.
Yeah.
Very, very impressive. So that goes to show you if you can identify talent, you coach them up, you can make it work.
Okay, this is an interesting name here. Jeff Banks, the assistant head coach at Texas, the special teams coordinator, played at Washington State, I believe was an assistant there as well just a few years ago. This could be like we don't know how high his ceiling is as a coach, but it could end up being a home run. It's kind of a risk-reward. He loves Washington State. He played there. For him to be an assistant or associate head coach under Steve Sarkisian, I think that's a big deal. I think that's big time recognition down there in Austin. He's a good recruiter, and anytime you can bring one of your own home, especially to a mid-level program like Washington State. Like Alabama and Florida and Texas and USC, they don't need to hire someone that played there, but I think you get a little extra juice, a little extra motivation when you get a guy who went through the battles there as a player, and a guy like Jeff Banks, I think could make a lot of sense.
You know, it's important, too. That kind of caters to the fan base. It caters to the alumni. It caters to people at that university.
And that stuff matters at these type of schools.
Exactly right, and they have that familiar face come in there, and they can rally behind that. Whereas if you pass over a familiar guy to go with the unknown, they're like, whoa, we had this guy here. We know him. Why don't you go with him? Fan base support or fan base discretion is important with these things.
And honestly, I think especially after this whole Rolovich thing goes down with some controversy, maybe a guy who loves the university makes the most sense. And that is definitely true with Banks there. So I think that could be a potential interesting fit. Subscribe to us here at Chat Sports. Any Given Thursday goes live every single week. On Thursday, of course, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific time. We talk college football. We also talk about the NFL and the NBA as well. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. We'll keep you guys up to date with everything around college football. All right, number 2, Alex Grinch, the DC at Oklahoma. The defense has been up and down this year. And we might even bring producer Sam in here for a little chat here in a sec. I'll get my points first. And Sam's the OU alum. He knows what's going on there. Alex Grinch was hired from Washington State as their DC. He turned Washington State, Chase, when Mike Leach was their head coach, from the dead last, I'm not joking, the worst defense in America to top 40 in 2 years. That's pretty damn impressive.
That's how you land at
what he did
Oklahoma
there.
And get the bag.
Yeah, and look, has Oklahoma been an awesome defense? No.
They've been better,
but they've been so much better under Grinch than what they were under Mike Stoops, Bob Stoops' brother, just a few years ago. He's made a big difference there. He knows that program. Quite frankly, though, I don't know if this is the job he would take, even though he did coach there. I think he could have a better opportunity in the next couple of years, but I do think Washington State will have a lot of interest and will reach out to Grinch. Sam, pipe in here. Give us your 2 cents on Grinch and if you think a move to Wazoo could make some sense.
Yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines as you are, Harrison, there on this one, that I don't know that this is the job that he'd leave for. I think that he was in the mix. I remember he was in the mix this offseason for the Arizona job. I remember some rumors about him getting interviews there. Granted, that's not that much more of a step up from from Washington State. They're about on the same tier, but I think he'd have bigger and better around the corner if he stuck around. I don't know that Washington State's the one he wants to go to.
I think it's that battle, and I appreciate that 2 cents there of, do you wait for a better job, but do you miss the boat, right? Like, what if the next couple of years don't go that well, and then he's not a hot name anymore? That's the risk you take. You see coaches do that all the time. So we'll see what happens. Grinch is still a hot name, especially for a job like Washington State. Could be an interesting fit. All right, number 1, and I like this one quite a bit, Joe Moorhead, Chase. Now, Moorhead did not work out at Mississippi State.
No.
They hired him from Penn State. He was running their offense. He goes to Mississippi State. Just wasn't a good culture fit. I don't think his personality mesh there is good at all. I like what he's done at Oregon, though. He's done a good job with Anthony Brown this year, even though they've kind of slowed down as of late. But I think regionally it makes sense. I think personality. He's a big guy with a Santa Claus beard. That speaks Pacific Northwest to me.
Yeah.
I think this could make a lot of sense. And he runs a similar offense to what Mike Leach ran with the air raid.
Love what Joe Moorhead did at Penn State. That's a big reason, and probably the lone reason why he got that Mississippi State job.
Absolutely.
He helped lead Penn State to a Big Ten championship. They haven't gotten back to that status since he left. And yeah, it didn't work out at Mississippi State, but I do like what he's done with Oregon. They've become a pretty explosive and quality offense. I think something to monitor here is if James Franklin leaves for an LSU or a USC, could Joe Moorhead then go back to Happy Valley, that familiar face that we're talking about, to be the next head coach there?
Yeah, I think he would at least be a candidate. I don't know if he'd be a top candidate at Penn State, but I do think he would potentially be in the mix. So there you go. Some names that you've heard of, some names you haven't. It's Washington State. That's just, it's a mid-tier Power 5 job. Get your pick in. Who should Wazoo hire as their next head coach now that Nick Rolovich is out? Let us know, especially you die-hard Washington State fans. We'll be reading the comments, so hit us up down in the comments section. Alrighty. I kind of like studying these coaches that, people don't know a lot about. And there's some of those guys, so there you go. Got one more segment to go. NFL picks against the spread. Is it Chug's 40 time? Is that what's happening? Oh my God! Holy shit!
Gonna need my help.
Get your
All
vote.
right.
Get your votes in. Who should Wazoo hire as their next head coach?
What am I doing?
Jeremy Chugs is about to beer bong here. We got 5 people in the office. I don't even know what's happening
so
here.
basically, guys, I'm kind of double dipping right now. It's Chuck's 40 time, but also I'm shitty at fantasy football. I suck in my other fantasy football league, so I have to chug some beers. I'm gonna have Chase pour this 1.5 beers down in this beer bong for me because I'm a horrible person and I suck at fantasy football.
That's right.
So there it is.
Here we go.
All right.
I'm gonna need your help.
Chant Chugs in the comments. Chant Chugs.
Sounds good. First half is going down.
Oh, here he goes. Chuggy Bear.
Surprise chug!
Oh, Tom Downey's chugging too.
And
Oh, man.
I guess I got to pour this
We
one
got
as well.
Petey Pablo filming this thing. Trace in studio. Oh, Downey crushing beers. The beer bong still going strong. Chuggy Bear.
You going to be all right, Chugs?
Let him do his thing.
He's starting to breathe heavy, folks.
It's getting
He's starting to breathe heavy, but it's going down, and it's good.
All right, Chugs.
There he goes.
We call him Jeremy
Here,
Chugs
take
for
your
a reason.
empties.
Oh, that's
That's
good
Chug's
stuff.
40 time.
Yep, no doubt about it. Appreciate that. Appreciate you guys for.
It's 540 somewhere.
Hey, it's somewhere.
Exactly
Maybe.
right.
All right, smash that subscribe button. Chat Sports. We've got the best NFL, NBA, college football, and chuggers of beer on the internet. So it's 100% free. Subscribe. Check us out. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. We're going to wrap things up with our NFL picks against the spread. So let's see how we did last week and then look ahead to Week 7. He's Chase. I'm Harry. It's Any Given Thursday here on Chat Sports. We go live every Thursday, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific time. We're going to wrap things up with our Week 7 picks against the spread in the NFL. But first, Chase, let's take a look at these Chat Sports standings. And Tom Downey has slowed down a bit, still in first place at 20-10. Thomas Mott, 18-10-2. Got Matthew Peterson at 17-13. Marshall and Jack are 16-14. 3 guys at 500, James, RC, and producer Sam Brown. He swore he'd get to 500, and he did. Trace Gerard coming off a good week. He's 14-16, as is Mitchell Renz. Jeremy Beedling, Brett Scott, myself. I've really rallied from 1-14 to 13-17. Oh, no, Chase, you're below Coop?
Yeah, I'm
You're
below
Coop Cup?
Yeah, it's not a good time right now. It's really not a good time. I vowed last week to be better, and I still went 2-3. The last 3 weeks I've gone 2-3, 2-3, 2-3.
Can't get above
just
500.
a couple points away from getting above 500. Here's the deal with betting, though, is that Downey was on a scorcher for a little while. He's cooled off. You were abysmal to start the year, but you've been red hot. That only means that my comeback and my hot streak is coming soon. Maybe it's this week, or just maybe I'll continue to suck.
So what's your lock of the week in Week 7? It can be a point spread, money line, or don't do like who's the big favorite this week, Rams over whoever the hell they're playing, but lock of the week, let us know. Sam Brown really wants to know it because he's our gambling degenerate here at Chat Sports. Give us your lock of the week, and then Chase Sr. is going to go through his picks for Week 7.
Well, nobody wants to take my betting advice given how bad my record is, but here are my 5 picks for this week in Week 7 of the NFL slate. I'm pretty confident that the Eagles can cover and win outright on the road against the Las Vegas Raiders. I think Nick Sirianni is going to overdo it and run the football a ton because he hasn't run the football at all up to this point. Dolphins plus 2.5 against Atlanta. Everybody's bagging on Miami, saying Brian Flores should be on the hot seat. Tua Tagovailoa sucks. They need to respond and win a game at some point. I think that's this week as underdogs. 49ers -4 against the Indianapolis Colts, coming off the bye week. 3 consecutive losses. Yes, Carson Wentz has been playing like one of the better quarterbacks the last 2 weeks. The Colts as a whole playing pretty solid football, but the Niners cannot afford to lose 4 straight games. Otherwise, they might have to sell. I think San Francisco rallies. Panthers, this is a get-right game for them against the New York Giants. 3.5, kind of a big number. Wish it went down to 3. That's something I might monitor come Sunday, but I think Carolina is going to rebound after a few losses consecutively. And the Washington football team, they just haven't played well at all. That defense has been terrible. I thought it was going to be a top 10 unit because their pass rush and their defensive line, it's stout. The talent is there, but it hasn't been there this year. Whereas the Packers, they continue to go in an upward trajectory. I think that continues this week against Washington.
All right, let's take a look at my picks. I'm 12-3 the last 3 weeks. I'm red hot. Let's see if I can continue it. Maybe go 5-0 this week. The over 43 in the Carolina Giants game. That's a low number. The sharps really like the over in that game. And by sharps, I mean the high rolling bettors, big money guys. They're betting the over in this one. So if you can get it at that number, I suggest you do so. Dolphins plus 2.5. I'm with you, Chase. I don't think there's a big difference between Miami and Atlanta. Dolphins are due for a win. They've lost 5 in a row. A lot of drama around Tua. Are they going to trade for Watson? I think they stabilize things this week. I don't think they just cover. I think they win outright. Patriots minus 7.5 against the Jets. They just won in New York in Week 2, 25-6. Now they get them at home. I know the Patriots are 2-4. They should have beat the Cowboys last week, and they're playing pretty well for a 2-4 team. I think they hammer New York. The under in the Bears-Tampa game. 13 is a tricky point spread. I stayed away from that, but the Bears defense deserves more respect. They're playing really well. Sean Desai has those boys balling. I could see this being like a 24-16 type of game. I think the under hits there. And then Indianapolis and San Francisco, Sunday Night Football. For Jimmy Garoppolo getting healthy, looks like he's good to go. He was actually playing fairly well before the injury. Carson Wentz is balling out. I think the over hits here. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be a shootout, but could it be 24, 21, 28, 24? I think that's very much a possibility. I like the over in that game. Okay, producer Sam's going to go through his picks and explain it. Then we're going to go rapid fire on the rest of the office. All right, go ahead, Sam.
All right, Packers minus 7.5, a popular pick so far today. I don't believe in Washington. I'm actually going to double down on the over in that one because I don't think the Packers defense is great either, especially without Jair Alexander. I think they could hang around for a little bit. Hopefully Washington can. I feel like a sucker going Kansas City and Tennessee over 57.5, but
it's what you do. It's your brand.
Life's too short, so we're going to roll with it. Patriots minus 7.5 against the Jets is the popular pick of the week, which means it's probably going to crash and burn. And then Raiders minus 3. This is also a little bit of a mini plug to be sure to catch us out in Vegas. Me and Mitch, we're going to be out there doing our watch party.
Follow Sam on Twitter.
Exactly. Follow me on Twitter at SamBrownCS. So it's going to give me a little something to root for as well while I'm there. So Raiders minus 3. Hopefully they don't screw it up either.
All right, so those are producer Sam Brown's picks. You can follow him on Twitter at SamBrownCS. Probably the biggest gambler we have here in the Chat Sports office.
It is what it is.
Yeah, he likes to have fun. There's no doubt about that. All right, who's going to have the best record out of us three? Type C for Chase Sr., type H for Harrison Graham, type S for Sam Brown. Chase is putting his C up. Hey, he's due. He's due for a big week.
Yes, sir.
Let's see if Chase can rally. So get your votes in CH or S. I want to tell you guys about our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Then we'll inform you on the rest of the office's picks. Chatsports.com/bet. That is the link to go to. Use the promo code CHAT125. That'll get you a 125% deposit bonus. When you put down $100, they're going to give you $125 for free. That is math, folks. And hey, I'll tweet up my picks again on Sunday to remind you guys, but just bet on my picks because it's rolling pretty well. If you want to bet on the Super Bowl too, you can do that. Bucks plus 500, Chiefs plus 700. You got the Bills, Packers, Ravens in there. Should be a fun season. Go make some money all year long. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code CHAT125. All right, let's roll through this. Tom Downey, he's 20-10. Chase and I will alternate our offensive picks. He loves the Dolphins as well. Saints minus 4.5 at Seattle. 49ers minus 4 against Indianapolis. You got the Packers minus 7.5 against the Washington football team. And then the Patriots, again, those two picks very, very popular as well.
Yeah, Thomas Mott, second place, 18-10-2. Panthers minus 3 against the Giants. Washington plus 10 against Green Bay. That number has gone down to 7.5 now. Falcons minus 2.5 against Miami. Eagles plus 3 on the road in Vegas. And Bengals plus 6 at Baltimore. I like that if it gets to 7.
We got Matthew Peterson. We call him Petey here. He got the Patriots at minus 7. I would have really loved to have that extra half point there. Texans plus 18 at Arizona. The under in the Bengals-Ravens game. The over in the Detroit-Los Angeles Rams game. And then he's got Seattle plus 4.5 against the New Orleans Saints. What do you like betting on more, favorites or underdogs? Producer Sam, you want to weigh in on this one? Favorites or underdogs?
I'm a big home favorites guy.
Okay, home favorites. There you go. Type F for favorite. Type U for underdog. I've been doing a lot of over-unders recently. I've had some success there as well. So let us know. F for favorite, U for underdog.
Money Marsh, Saints minus 4.5 on the road against Seattle. Packers plus 7.5. Raiders minus 3. Patriots minus 7.5 against the Jets. Yeah, I kind of like that too, especially if it gets down to a touchdown. Panthers minus 3 against the Giants.
Jack Lauderay, he's enjoying a nice and well-earned vacation. He's got the Patriots minus 7. Raiders minus 3 as well. Rams minus 15. I thought about that, but, man, that's a big number. The over in that Chiefs-Titans game, but then he's like Baltimore minus 6.5. Maybe the best team in the NFL right now over the Cincinnati Bengals.
James Yoder, the boss man, Bengals plus 6.5. Lions plus 15.5. That's a huge number. They've been competitive in a lot of their games except for last week against Cincy. Raiders minus 3 against the Eagles. The over for Indianapolis, San Francisco at 44. And the over for New Orleans, Seattle at 42.5.
That is a low number. I'm intrigued by that one. R.C. Maxfield, he's batting 500 as well. He likes the Dolphins this week at plus 2.5. Saints minus 4.5 at Seattle. The over in the Lions-Rams game. The over in that Chiefs-Titans game as well. And then Baltimore, 6.5-point favorites against the Bengals. He thinks he covers that. Make sure you subscribe to Chat Sports, whether it's the NFL, the NBA, college football. We're covering it all. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. Don't miss any of our videos because, hey, it's 100% free. The least you can do is help us out by hitting that subscribe button. That way, we can continue to bring you the latest around the NFL, NBA, and college football.
Trizzy Trace, 14-16 on the year, overcoming a slow start. Panthers minus 3 against the Giants. The over for KC, Tennessee at 57.5. Packers minus 7.5 against Washington. 49ers minus 4 against the Colts. Saints minus 4.5 against the Seahawks.
Another Packers minus 7.5 from Mitchell Renz. He got the Ravens at minus 6. Titans plus 5.5 against Kansas City. Bears plus 13 at Tampa Bay. 49ers minus 4 against the Indianapolis Colts.
Chugs, he just came in here and chugged some beers. 1.5 beer bongs. Bengals plus 6.5 against the Ravens. Panthers minus 3.5 against the Giants. Over for Green Bay, Washington at 49. Lions plus 15 and Eagles plus 3.
Let's go to Brett Scott here. Scotty Scooter. Titans plus 5.5 against Kansas City. Giants plus 3.5 against Carolina. He likes the Rams minus 15 against Detroit. He also took the Bears plus 13 and then the Patriots. That's been a very popular pick. Minus 7.5 against the Jets.
Last one for you. Coop Cup. Patriots minus 7 against the Jets. Panthers minus 3.5 against the Giants. Bears minus 3 against the Bucks. Packers minus 10 against the Washington football team. Niners minus 4 against Indy.
So there you have it, our picks of the week at Chat Sports. We'll keep doing it every week. I think we're going to start doing this at the end of our live show here on any given Thursday, so make sure you mark your calendars, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific time. Subscribe. Chase and I will be back next week. Okay, we're going to wrap things up. We didn't make our picks for the Broncos-Browns because that game's coming up here in about an hour. We can make our unofficial picks here. Broncos type DN, Browns type CLA. Do we have an updated line on this game? This one's really interesting with all the injuries with Cleveland. I still like the Browns, Chase. I may throw a little 10-piece on this after the show.
I kind of like Cleveland too. I think the Cleveland Browns are going to rally tonight. Look, yes, they're without a lot of guys. OBJ actually is going to play. He is late active play for Cleveland. But even with all of their injuries, aren't they the more talented team than the Broncos?
I think so, man.
Would either of you like to guess?
And they need this win more than
I'm going to say
does.
Browns -2.
I'll go
-2, 2.5.
Yeah.
Let's drop down to Browns -1.
Okay.
Ooh, I may go take.
Borderline pick 'em.
I
may
might
go
have to take that
Cleveland.
too.
Now.
Might have to cop that.
We may have to end this show right here. Appreciate you guys for rolling with us. He's Chase Sr. I'm Harrison Graham. Shout out to producer Sam Brown guiding us through this show. He was excellent today. Chuggy Bull for coming in here and chugging a beer. Tom Downey as well. Hey, that's what we do, man. This is what we signed up for. We'll be back next week here on Any Given Thursday. Make sure you guys subscribe, youtube.com/chatsportstv. We'll see you soon, so stay tuned.